Happy Hour Friday starts now on the Sports Bass Live 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, live video on the BFA live stream YouTube channel. Check us out over there. What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Mike Gill. Josh Eddings producing today's show. You, somewhere out there, I feel like the walls are caving in on the Phillies, but they do have a lead. They did get a little help last night. And sometimes, somewhere along the way, you need a little help from your friends. The Miami Marlins last night, you checked them out on Twitter. Hey, Phillies, are we like friends now? Grand slam home run to win the game, beating the Brewers last night. The Marlins helped the Phillies out. Now the Phils have a 1-0 lead in Washington. Can they take the momentum of that and kind of springboard it into a much-needed series win and possibly a sweep here against the Nationals? We'll talk a little Phils and the impact of that loss by the Brewers last night. You know, the magic number when we got off the air yesterday was 7, and by last night, the magic number turned into 8 all of a sudden. Why? Well, because the Marlins were your friends last night. They helped you out. They got the job done, and unfortunately, you need a little luck and a little help along the way. And I know there's the people out there, there's that group of people who are so disenchanted by this team, and I'm not talking you into believing in the Phillies because you know what? Quite frankly, if they make the playoffs, then don't watch. If you don't like what you're seeing right now and they make the playoffs, I'm not forcing you or twisting your arm to watch playoff games. But what I would say is this. It doesn't matter how, just get in, and then hopefully, and look, it might not be a good possibility, but hopefully they play their best baseball at the right time. They're not playing their best baseball right now. That's evident, including today. I mean, it's the bottom of the third inning, but 1-0. Reese Hoskins hit a homer, and Bailey Falter is dealing right now. So you got the opportunity for Bailey Falter to help you out. He's a guy that, hey, listen, you didn't have a lot of expectations for, but he has turned in some big outings for this team. He has come up in some big moments for this team, and they need him right now. They need him right now. They do have the game tonight, so they still have another game tonight possibly pending with the weather situation going on in Florida, in Washington. So they're trying to get the doubleheader in. If they do, they're going to, be in a situation where they will be in a spot where they're going to need a big spot from Noah Syndergaard. He's a guy they picked up at the trade deadline. A lot of people questioned the pickup, but guess what? It's time to stop questioning it and hope that he comes up in a big spot for you here. So Phillies to kind of start the day off. Eagles and Jags, big part of our Friday, Happy Hour Friday. Your thoughts on the game. I want to kind of take the temperature and the pulse of the Eagles fan out there. And I do so in this manner. How many people have legitimate concern about the game this week? And I asked that question in this facet. The Eagles 3-0, they're a heavy favorite in the game. This is a Jaguars team that didn't make the playoffs last year. Not that that really matters. It's a new coach, new culture down there. But if you legitimately think the Eagles are a Super Bowl contender, shouldn't they beat a Jacksonville team that is trying to find out who they are at home? Now, the line says they should, 6.5. I don't know if it's moved since I started the show from when I looked at it earlier this afternoon. But the line is basically saying that the Eagles are a touchdown better. They're at home. You get a customary 3 points, the head nod there. Here you go. You're better than them. And then we tack them on. They've added 3.5 points to the spread on this game. They're basically saying we think the Eagles are a clear better team than the Jacksonville Jaguars. How many people enter this week with that same mindset? How many people enter this week and saying, look, I know Jacksonville's better. I know they've gotten better, but I clearly think Philadelphia is a better football team. And that doesn't mean you're 100% confident, but shouldn't you enter this week thinking, hey, if I want to believe in the Eagles, I have to believe that they're going to beat Jacksonville at home. I have to believe that they're going to find a way to beat a Jacksonville team that is, really trying to figure out who they are. And when I say figure out who they are, it's a team that did not make the playoffs last year. This is a team that has been one of the worst football organizations, not just teams, worst organizations. I mean, they had a disaster last year with Urban Meyer down there, to the point they had to do something that you don't see happen all that much. Fire the guy in the middle of the year. So this is a game this week, believe it or not. I know a lot of people are talking about Jacksonville, and I'm one of them that said, look, I believe that their culture has changed. I believe that Jacksonville definitely is moving in the right direction. And for God's sakes, they might win the AFC South. But that doesn't mean that they should come into Philadelphia and win a football game. If you are as good as you hope to be, if you are as good as realistically a lot of people think you are, if you're as good as you want to be, in the end, you have to win games like this at home. Now, if the game was in Jacksonville, I might have a little bit of a different feel here, right? I might say, oh, the game's in Jacksonville. They were on the road last week. That's another thing you have to keep in mind. They were on the road last week, and they hadn't won a road game in 17 tries before last week. They finally got off the schneid and got a road win against a banged-up Chargers team. And let's be honest, playing on the road in Los Angeles, especially for the Chargers, it's a lot different than playing on the road in Philadelphia. Can we all agree on that? I think we can, right? We all kind of agree that playing the Philadelphia Eagles in Philly is a lot different atmosphere that you're going to face than facing the Chargers down in SoFi Stadium. Where do they even fill that place? Can they even get that place filled? So it's a game this week that I think has a lot of intriguing things. I think this game has so many interesting storylines because of the coaching familiarity from the Jaguars. A couple text messages coming in. 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973. If you're listening on the free mobile app, message us through the app on your phone. And if you're watching live video at the BFA live stream on YouTube, you can message us over there as well. Couple text messages to start the show. Mike, I'm not trying to be negative here, but the Eagles are ripe to get beat in this spot. The Eagles don't stink or anything, just saying they're not going to win every game, and they lose this one. Okay, let's break that down a little bit because there's a lot of, I don't want to say irrational thoughts there. Why are the Eagles ripe to lose this game? Well, you have the emotion of Doug Peterson coming back. You have a team that's 3-0. You have a lot of hype around this team. But I would say this. The Eagles have played 2 road games. Last week they played on the road. They looked dominant on the road. They come home in this spot here. I feel like this is a situation where the Eagles have basically been the talk of the NFC. You had Miami, the talk of the AFC. I liked Cincinnati last night. That was the way I went with my play. And Cincinnati, now obviously had that gruesome injury with Tua that really changed the dynamics of that game, I think. But I liked Cincinnati in that game last night, and obviously Cincinnati wins that game. But that was a tough spot for for Miami. Why? Short week, on the road. I definitely feel that the Eagles are in a better spot than Miami was last night. Short week, traveling for Thursday night. You lose your quarterback in the middle of the game. So I think Philadelphia is actually in a much better spot than what Miami was last night. So I agree with what you're saying. You think they're – I think I agree with what you're saying. They're not going to win every game. But they should win home games against lesser opponents. Mm-hmm. If you want to lose a game, okay, man, we went down to Indianapolis and just didn't have it that day. You know, we went to what's coming up on the road here? We went to Arizona. Now, although Arizona's not a very good home team, that would be disappointing. Their road schedule is not very difficult, to be honest with you. I mean, if they lose at Houston, you're not happy. No. The one road game, if they lose, okay, we went to Dallas and lost that game. If they lost a home game, to go back to that guy's point, like we're ripe for the pick in here. We're ripe for the pick in. Let's look at the schedule if you're watching on the BFA live stream. You see the schedule up on the screen. I would say, where would you be ripe for the pick-in? I don't know. Maybe, okay, there's one. The home game against the Titans. Now, I don't know what the Titans are going to be by the time we get to that week, but you play the Packers the week before. Let's say they beat the Packers in Philadelphia. That's the next week. That, all right, now you're at home. You're playing a Tennessee team that's probably middle of the road, and they come in and they get you. Ooh, nice effort there. Marsh looks like he just doubled. So the Phillies got a runner on second. That would be where I think the Eagles are a little ripe for the picking. But I like the text message. I appreciate you chiming in. 609-403-0973. Mike, here's why I think the Birds will win big on Sunday. Well, okay, I like that. I like to start out with that. I think coming off a big win against L.A. against the Chargers, then having to pack a home, go east to Philly, will hamper the young Jags. Plus I think Slay and Company will smother an average. I think that point is my favorite point of the day. Jacksonville had one on the road in 17 tries. Fine. The culture has changed. They won a road game finally. They went to L.A. last week, had to come back home, get ready. Who knows what's going on in Jacksonville this week with all the weather situations, the hurricane down there. I got to imagine that Jacksonville practice schedule got knocked off a little bit. Now you got to pack up and come to Philly. The emotion around Doug Peterson coming back to Philadelphia. He's got a young team. How do they handle it? I think it's a tough spot for Jacksonville, to be honest with you. I think the emotion of them guys trying to play for Doug, those young Jaguars who really don't understand a lot of what Doug's connection with Philadelphia was, right? Or text messages, 609-403-0973. Mike, if the Birds lose, it is what it is. Every week we see lesser teams beating the better teams. It's the NFL. Well, that's a rational text. You're right. On Monday, if the Eagles lose the game against Jacksonville, it's going to be hard to come in here and just absolutely rip them. I mean, I do understand exactly what you're saying. It's the NFL. Teams are going to lose against lesser teams. You don't win every single week. But I think this, and even if you're a Super Bowl contender, you could win the Super Bowl and have lost a game along the way that your fans are annoyed by, that you're annoyed by. But this is like every sport in today's game. When we were growing up and you would lose a game, you couldn't comprehend losing to a lesser team. And when you lost to a lesser team, there was a major upset. We're seeing in college football now, all the time. Good teams lose. I should say, higher profile programs lose to teams that you're not as familiar with. It happens almost every week now. When I was growing up, when you were growing up, when a lot of people listening to this show were growing up, the Florida Gators weren't losing, or the Miami Hurricanes weren't losing to Middle Tennessee State. No, they were kicking their rear ends up and down the field no matter what. You didn't see the Appalachian States beating Texas A&M. You didn't see these smaller Division I, lesser-known programs beating the big boys. It just didn't happen. Well, college football evened itself out through a variety of reasons. One, television. On a Saturday from noon to midnight, you could watch 900 games. I mean, jeez, oh, you could watch a game on ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox Sports 1, ESPN 2, ESPNU, CBS Sports Network, the Big Ten Network, the Pac-12 Network, the this network, the that network. Oh, and by the way, you can go to ESPN Plus and get 40 games distributed to you. So a kid had to make a college decision based on, hey, am I going to get on television? And you went to the big schools because they were the ones getting on TV. Now everybody's on TV. The NFL didn't have that problem. But free agency, the salary cap, that was their version of evening things out. And now you have a situation where, the Bills will lose to Miami. Kansas City will lose to Indianapolis, even though when the week started, you didn't think that was a possibility. Jacksonville will go to the Chargers and beat them. I'm sure last week you didn't think that was going to happen. Jay in Atlantic City chimes in. Mike, the Eagles should win this game. Jags ranked 7th in defense, so by the numbers, that is a stout defense, especially playing for Coach P in the Eagles' nest. Jacksonville is going to come in fired up, but as Slay says, he's the best in the world. But guess what? Me too. I'm saying Eagles 35-17. So you think, Jay, that this is a very easy game. Look, I think the point the last guy made, or one of the text messages made, was I think the Eagles' secondary is a big difference in this game. Slay and Bradbury have been lockdown guys. Kirk and Zay Jones are probably the lesser of the three teams they've played so far. Mm-hmm. I think the weapons of McLaurin, I think, is better than both of these guys, right? I think that, now, you can make this argument, is Trevor Lawrence the best quarterback that they have faced this season? Between Wentz, Goff, and Kirk Cousins, you can make a strong argument that Trevor Lawrence is probably the most talented quarterback that they have faced.
I said it earlier this week, Mike, and I'll bring it up to you here. I know a lot of people love to focus on offense because of fantasy football and all that stuff, but I do have some concerns about the Eagles. I think this is the best defense they're going to face this year so far. And it will be the best defense they face till they see the Cowboys, because the one thing that the Jags have done the last 2 weeks is get pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, the Jags team, their defense is forcing turnovers. That's what they've done a really good job.
And it starts up front.
Yes.
Because people like to talk about, Walker and Allen. They're their two best defensive pass rushers. But the whole front is actually getting pressure, getting quarterback hits across the board. So, to me, I'm curious to find out how the Eagles hold up, because don't forget, week 1, the offensive line didn't play that great.
No,
week
and they
2,
didn't play all that well. They didn't run the ball all that well, I should say.
Right, they didn't run the ball well last week. And by the way, the Jags have a very stout run defense.
So far. That's the thing. Like someone texted, they're number 7 in defense. We see a lot of these teams over the years jump out of the gates in the first 3 or 4 weeks, and it's like, wow, Denver a couple of years ago. Was it last year? When did Philly play Denver? And they had like a top 5 defense, and the Eagles scored like 58 points on them. That had to be 2017.
2017.
Right. Denver that game was early in the year. Denver had gotten off to a really good start defensively, and it was like, this is a really good defense through 4 weeks. They're the number 1 defense in the league. And then, like, the next week, the Eagles played another team that had a really highly ranked defense. The rankings are going to be skewed early. That said, I think the Jacksonville Jaguars do have young talent on that defense. The question is, have they seen an offense quite like what they're going to see in Philadelphia last week? The Chargers are banged up last week. Fair. No Keenan Allen.
It's fair, but you could also argue that there were things the Chargers could have done better in that game. You go back to the Jags saw Washington week 1, and that was the most points they've allowed all season. But that was also week 1. Nobody had film at that point on Washington, right? So 3 weeks later, the Jags have film on the Eagles. How much is the game tape, Mike, going to factor into this?
Oh, as the weeks constantly go on, the game tape continues to show more and more of what you do. That's what we talked about last week when we said that the Eagles took their foot off the pedal a little bit. Why? Because they're up 24-2 in the game, and they don't want to put more things on tape if they don't have to, right?
Right, if they don't have to is the key word. I think that still for a lot of people, they would like to, they remember what you referenced earlier, that fill-in-the-blank team destroyed fill-in-the-blank team. You mentioned the Broncos game in 2017. The Eagles ran up and down the field on them offensively, but it was all the running game, obviously. But you just mentioned also as well, this Eagles team didn't run the ball well last week. They did the first 2 weeks, but then last week they didn't. So, it's kind of like half a dozen, one hand to the other, right?
Yeah, I mean, when push comes to shove, I think this Eagles team can run the ball. When push comes to shove, I think this team's way more balanced and talented than the Jacksonville team is. I think when push comes to shove, this is probably Jacksonville has played. They lost to Washington, right?
Right. Close game.
Close game.
They lost in basically the last 2 minutes of the quarter.
They won a game against Indianapolis, in which they shut them out.
Right. They totally dominated.
Totally dominated. And then last week, their defense played very well, and their offense played exceptionally. I think we're going to talk about this coming up here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. And don't forget, you can watch the show live on the BFA Live Sports YouTube channel. Just subscribe to their YouTube channel, BFA Live Sports. You can watch the show each and every day. I got a lot of texts coming in. I like when you guys send texts. We can read and react. I'll give you the numbers, 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973. George, I see your text. If you have some names in there, you want to continue to send your text messages, we'll get to them. 609, Tom, I got your text coming up as well, 609-403-0973. If you're watching the show live on the BFA Sports live stream, you can message us right there in the comments section on YouTube, and we'll put those up on the screen. I see you, Jeff. We'll get your message up on the screen. We'll address them all. Phillies up 2-0 in the fourth. We'll have that. Sal Pal, Mike McGarry, Adam Caplan, former Eagle and Jaguar Clay Harbor is our outside view today. We're just getting cooking. More Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
We live in a community that cares. We make sure everyone eats, everyone plays, everyone stays warm, and everyone is protected. We support our youth in organizations that teach the value of community and self-worth. We make strides against breast cancer every day. Together, in this community, we make a difference. RK Chevrolet, RK Kia, and RK Subaru, proudly serving our community since 1982.
The Claridge is the best destination to stay and play on the boardwalk in Atlantic City. Just steps away from the ocean, the Claridge has it all. The city's ultimate rooftop bar, wonderful restaurants, classic guest rooms with ultra-high-speed Wi-Fi, and 100,000 square feet of banquet and convention space for events and the wedding of your dreams. Book at Claridge.com for the best rates and find the best package for your stay. Discover all the Claridge has to offer.
When it comes to taking care of your physical wellness, maintaining good health of your bones and muscles, you want a team of doctors you can trust and who hold themselves to the highest standards. At Premier Orthopedic Associates, we believe that you should live life at your best. Our team of non-operative and operative orthopedic specialists strive for the highest standards, exceptional outcomes, and happiest patients. Come and experience the Premier difference.
All right, 228 Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. The South Jersey golf cart is now on sale. Play 7 fabulous courses for just $149. It's $149 for people who thought they can play golf for $1.49. I'm sorry. Get your South Jersey golf card now at seizethedeal.com. This thing's pretty cool. You can go and check out the different courses that you can play. You get this card, and it's $149, and you can go play all the different courses. So check that out on our website, 973ESPN.com, seizethedeal.com. We got a lot of texts coming in. I like reading the text. Happy Hour Friday. Yes, indeed. What are you drinking today with the rain and the games? You got Phillies game on now. We got the scores. We'll keep you up to date right here on the Sports Bash. I think that this Eagles game has a lot of interesting storylines. We're going to get into some of the changes that Jacksonville has made. Mike checks in. He sends us a text. He says, Mike, I think it's going to rain, and I think the Birds win in cover because they'll run the ball a lot. The weather is definitely something that hasn't been brought up a lot. I don't know, how much rain is in the forecast for Sunday, and quite frankly, I think you can look now and it'll say something and it'll probably change between now and Sunday. But, yeah, the weather possibility for Sunday is definitely something to keep an eye on. George in Galloway sends this text. He says, I'm concerned with the game, but yes, they're Super Bowl contenders. This is why. 1, Greg Cosell, who I respect and firm analyst possibility as a film analyst, possibly more than anybody, says the Jaguars have a great, not good, but great defense, particularly their front seven. Yes, I agree. Said that yesterday. Their front seven is very good. So already the Jaguars' strength is one that can potentially neutralize the Eagles' strength. The Eagles' formula so far has been winning up front and allowing Jalen Hurts to make plays for positive yards. The game where they lost up front is also the game they almost lost. Yes, even though it was week 1. I agree with that point, is that Jacksonville has this good front seven. They stop the run very well so far. They get to the quarterback. Here's the thing. You talked about it. How do they neutralize Jalen Hurts? Now, if Jalen Hurts plays like he has the first 3 games, I think Jacksonville has some problems because I think their secondary is beatable. Mm-hmm. There's some holes in that secondary, and I think the Eagles' weapons on the outside might be too much of a problem. The difference is if they can neutralize the Eagles' run game and make them very one-dimensional, okay, now Jalen Hurts comes into play and has to make plays. Before, he's making plays. He didn't have to make plays. He just was making plays. But if they take your run game away from you, now he has to make plays because he's going to be in a situation where you're very one-dimensional, and I think that's where Jalen might be challenged more in this game than any of the games he's played so far. So that is a good point, George, in Galloway.
Yeah, just to emphasize that, if you go back to 2017, the Eagles used their front to cover up the corners on that team, right? Mills and Darby weren't exactly elite corners. They were good, serviceable corners. They did the job. But you saw in games like versus the Patriots in the Super Bowl, the Rams in the game that Carson Wentz got injured, that when the defense wasn't getting to the quarterback, they can get beat. So Doug and the Jags are depending on Walker, Allen, and company up front to get to the quarterback to cover up for the fact that their corners are nowhere near the caliber of Slay and Bradbury for the Eagles.
No, their corners are definitely the weaker spot in their defense.
They are the weakest link.
Yes, and the Eagles, I would imagine, and I think one of the things, the good things the Eagles have done this year is they have recognized teams' weaknesses and gone after them. And I would imagine that Shane Steichen is going to look at their weakness in the secondary and take shots immediately down the field. Let's see how much we can open this up early and put their weakness in play right off the bat. Let's go right after, their secondary and see if the Eagles, Shane Steichen, see if our receivers can make some plays here. But it goes back to Jalen Hurts. If you're asking him now you're asking him something different than the first couple games. I didn't ask you to try to win the game for me. You just played so well. The offense, I think if we looked it up, was very balanced in all 3 games. This game might not be as balanced because Jacksonville might be able to take away a key part of your offense, which is the run game. And that could be something that now says, Jalen Hurts, we're going to have to put more on your plate. Can you answer the call? And I think this is a good week to find out if Jalen Hurts will answer that call.
I think it's going to be a great measuring stick for this team because you have a team that's good coming into your place again. This is the second time this year that you have a team that's supposed to have talent coming into your house to play you. You know, what was the concern about last year's team? Like, they didn't beat anyone of consequence, right?
Yeah,
Well,
you're
now-
going to get that all year this year, though.
Right, but the thing is that it doesn't matter what the final score is. The reality is that the Vikings are a good football team, the Jags are a good football team, and they're coming into your house, and now you get to see what you're made of.
If Jacksonville is the best team that you've got on your schedule, which we threw up on the screen a little while ago, but I think Jacksonville, I don't know, are they more talented than Minnesota?
I think it's about the same, honestly.
I mean, this is a team that nobody had expectations for entering the season. Now, all of a sudden, we're saying they're better than this team, they're better than that team. I get it. As the season materializes, yes, you might be better, but are they a playoff level team? I think because of the division they're in, probably, but I don't know. Are we just and that was kind of the point of the beginning of this. Are we overly concerned about a team that, quite frankly, hasn't been very good?
Yeah, but that was the past. You know, they have two very talented running backs. They got Christian Kirk, Marvin Jones, two a minimum above average wide receivers. I think their offensive line is definitely better than it was last year. And as you mentioned, Mike, they have a front seven that you have to deal with. So,
Well, I think the biggest thing is the coach.
well, I mean, the coach definitely has changed the culture down there, and I think that's a big part of it. But on paper, they have talent. It's not like he went to Jacksonville and walked into a nothing burger.
No, they had talent, but the coach, I think, makes that talent. He's getting the most out of that talent. He is definitely in a position now where the guy before, I think, the culture down there was so bad
Right.
and everything was so
It was
you
just a
know,
disaster.
yeah, I mean, there was an article today. I don't know who wrote the article, but it was another article basically about how Urban Meyer tried to belittle players and just basically coach as a fearmonger, right? Just basically like, you're not good enough, you stink, why are you here? And these NFL guys didn't want to deal with that.
No.
You didn't have a shot to connect. A lot of the same players, though. Let's not,
Well, remember, Travis Etienne was injured last year, so he really didn't play last year. So he's a guy that didn't really get action last year, but he's not playing right now because James Robinson himself is healthy, and he's running like a man trying to get a contract.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and again, they added Zay Jones and Christian Kirk. Now, to most people listening, those guys aren't household names.
But they're major upgrades from what they had.
They had nothing. Kirk is a guy that I don't think that's where I think the Eagles have a big advantage here. But this is how I would play this if I'm John Gannon. I'm going to ask my two corners to take out those two guys and then dare them to try to run the ball on me. Now I got to ask my linebackers. This would be a game that maybe Jordan Davis is a bigger factor in.
Okay.
Because I'm going to ask my two corners to kind of man up, take these two guys away. Hey, Bradbury and Slay, I think you guys can hang with Kirk and Zay Jones and Marvin Jones for Avonte Maddox. I want you guys to kind of take that challenge this week because we're going to try to make them either beat us there or then run the ball on us. And if they're going to try to run the ball, we're going to have Jordan Davis in there. We want to play a little bit bigger up front. So I think that could be one thing that we see this week that really changes the dynamic, and that's what we talk about. Can John Gannon make the switches? Can he make the adjustments on the fly? Can he do it from week to week? Does he know, okay, this is where this team's weaknesses are. This is where our strengths are. I want to see that evolution in him as a play caller.
I asked this question earlier this week on Game Now. I'll bring it up to you again here, Mike, and for the audience. If they want to text in at 609-403-0973. Doug Peterson knows a lot of guys on this team. He has a lot of familiarity with Kelsey and Lane Johnson and Isaac Seumalo and Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox. He knows a lot of these guys very well. Is there a part of you that says Doug might have something up his sleeve?
Yeah, it's been brought up a lot, how many coaches, we talked about it with Andrew yesterday. He ripped off all the, Caldwell's there, Press Taylor's there, Doug's there. I think it was Joe Valerio on Wednesday night who said the position coaches will probably have more insight on the different guys than maybe Doug would as the head coach.
Press
Those
Taylor's down
position
there.
coaches, right? But I in this instance, how many guys? The offensive line, yeah, but I mean, quite frankly, Lane Johnson hasn't given up a sack in like 3 years. What is Doug Peterson going to come up with to say this is where he's weak? He doesn't have a weakness.
Well, I'm assuming that because Doug Peterson makes a lot more money than I do, that he might know something that I don't. So that's
He
kind
might,
of
but my
that's
point
the theory
is
I'm working off of.
he might, but my point is I'm not sure that Doug says, look, this is the weakness of Lane Johnson. He might say, no, he's about as solid as they come. This Eagles offensive line is very good, and even Doug knowing Jalen Hurts was a different player when Doug was here.
Well, that's why I didn't name Hurts. Maybe I could say Miles Sanders. Sanders was, 2 years in with Doug before Doug left. So I could throw
Doug
him in.
might say, listen, I know that he's a fumbler.
Right.
So let's force them to run the ball more than they want to because we know that maybe we can get in on a fumble.
Yeah, maybe it's something where you say, let's throw a lot of zone out there.
That's stretching, though. I don't think that is going to be a huge factor. And
Okay.
Doug hasn't really, the defense is a lot different than it was. The skill players are completely different. Devonta Smith, he never had. A.J. Brown, he didn't have.
Right.
Hurts is a completely different player. No, I don't think that will be a huge factor in the game. Maybe if you said even that, like he knows Mailata, maybe he knows, but Mailata could be a different player than he was 2 years ago. Like,
Well,
when I was here, Mailata struggled with this. Well, 2 years ago he struggled with this.
Right.
Maybe now where he is, he doesn't struggle with that anymore. And I don't even know what he does struggle with, quite frankly, because every time I see him, he's kicking everybody's rear end.
Mailata still gets a little sloppy with the technique, if I had to point to something. I've heard a couple people like Baldy mention that Mailata is still raw in some of his technique, and he's still Baldy. I heard say at one point, he says people don't realize how far Mailata has come and how much farther he still has to go to his potential.
Hey, don't forget, today's your last day to enter to win an overnight stay and $100 gift card to the Ocean Casino Resort. Just go to our website, 973ESPN.com, to enter, and I'm going to announce the winning name today when Happy Hour Friday segment with Pete Thompson at 4:45. So get on the website, use the mobile app, and enter to win an overnight stay and a $100 gift card to Ocean Casino Resort. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City set to join us. Look at the weekend. Phil's in action. NFC East, some big games. High school football. Schedule's got a lot of change in it because of the weather reports. You got some games going on now. All that and more coming up next with Mike McGarry here on the Sports Bash.
We're here at the brand new RK Service Center. We've got to be super excited about all the things that are going on here at RK.
We are. We're super excited. We've been waiting this for a long time. We're very proud of this facility. We are hiring new technicians, so we're offering a $1,500 sign-on bonus. You can check with our managers in terms of the details on that. But along with that, we offer healthcare, dental, eye, 401k with a match, and on it goes.
No better place to look than right here at RK Auto Group.
RKAutogroup.com, but individually for each manufacturer would be myrkchevy.com, myrkkia.com, and myrksubaru.com.
When it comes to taking care of your physical wellness, maintaining good health of your bones and muscles, you want a team of doctors you can trust and who hold themselves to the highest standards. At Premier Orthopedic Associates, we believe that you should live life at your best. Our team of non-operative and operative orthopedic specialists strive for the highest standards, exceptional outcomes, and happiest patients. Come and experience the Premier difference.
The Claridge is the best destination to stay and play on the boardwalk in Atlantic City. Just steps away from the ocean, the Claridge has it all. The city's ultimate rooftop bar, wonderful restaurants, classic guest rooms with ultra-high-speed Wi-Fi, and 100,000 square feet of banquet and convention space for events and the wedding of your dreams. Book at Claridge.com for the best rates and find the best package for your stay. Discover all the Claridge has to offer.
.246 Sports Bash fills up 2-0. The math has changed since we last talked to Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. The magic number 6. Let's get his thoughts. I know the Phillies in action right now, and they got another one tonight, Mike. But we talked Wednesday. The math felt good. How are we feeling on a Friday?
We're feeling a little bit shakier than we felt on Wednesday, right? But I still think if you're the Phillies, you can't fully push that panic button yet. It's still right in front of you, and you're getting some help from the Milwaukee Brewers. You know, last night the Brewers had that 2-0 lead. They end up losing that game 4-2. If they had won that game last night, then I think it could have been, you know, legitimately panic city. But I think you tied and you're up 2-0 today. Though it's tough to sweep a doubleheader, I still think, you know, it's right in front of you if you are the Phillies.
Yeah, I mean, what are some of the things and reasons in your mind, Mike, that this team is kind of limping yet again? I think Jason Stark has that great tweet that has been put out there about they're like 26 games under 500 over the last 5 or 4, I guess it is, Septembers. What are some of the things that this team is all of a sudden struggling with?
Yeah, I mean, it's a couple of things. I think the bullpen, you see a lot of tired arms out there. I think injuries in the bullpen to Knable and Brad Hand and Sir Anthony earlier this month kind of set it back. You see the starting pitching faltering a little bit, and you see the bats go cold at an inopportune time of year. The Phillies have always been a streaky team. I mean, they're just streaky hitters. Kyle Schwarber, streaky hitter. Bryce Harper, he showed signs of it in Chicago coming out of a slump, but he has, he hasn't been the same hitter since he came back from the fractured thumb. And I just think more than anything, if the Phillies were to collapse again this September, the team is going to really have to look at it and really take a deep dive into it, because now it's been collapses under Gabe Kapler, under Joe Girardi, under Rob Thompson, under Dave Dombrowski, under Matt Klentak. The management has changed. The collapses stay the same. So I think, if they were to collapse this time, you'd have to take a deep dive and maybe look at shaking up the core of the team with a couple of off-season moves.
Yeah, I agree. Certainly with that. You take a look at this lineup. I mean, I know there's 6 games left, and I know they're winning right now, but if you're Rob Thompson, do you think about doing something different? I mean, they're struggling. Do you think about shaking things up, or do you just keep writing that lineup in the same as you did the day before?
Yeah, I know it's not what fans want to hear, but I think you've got to start keep writing the lineup in the same. I mean, either Kyle Schwarber's going to hit or he's not. Hoskins had a home run today. Maybe that gets him going. Harper, he's got to hit. If the Castellanos, these guys got to hit. If the big guns are not going to hit, you're not going to win. It's as simple as that. So I don't know if changing Kyle Schwarber from first to fourth or Bryce Harper from third to second, shifting that around is going to make a major difference. You can make some cosmetic changes. They benched Stott the other day. He seems to be getting a little tired at the end of his rookie season. But either the big guys are going to get it done or they're not going to get it done, Mike. It's as simple as that.
Yep, I think, and that's one of the things, Mike, is they just don't have other – like, if you told me, okay, Schwarber shouldn't hit leadoff anymore, and I hear a lot of people giving that, who do you want to hit in that spot? That's the biggest problem.
Right. They don't have a classic leadoff hitter. That's why he's hit leadoff all season. If they had a classic leadoff hitter, you could put Schwarber down in the lineup, but they don't have that guy. And again, who are they going to turn to? It's almost like desperation. I know they brought up Derek Hall today, and people have been clamoring for him. And he can change a game with one swing. Maybe he runs into a pitch and gets you a game that you have to have. But again, they have their big guys. It's like similar to the Mets situation. If DeGrom, Scherzer, and Bassett don't go down to Atlanta this weekend and pitch well, the Mets aren't going to win. I mean, at this point of year, your stars have to play like stars, and the Philly stars have not played like stars over the past couple days.
No, they haven't. They're up right now, 2-0. They got a runner on second, nobody out, and Marsh is up. So obviously, trying to get something this first game at least would be a good step, and then we'll see if they get the game in tonight. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. Do you look at this Eagles game as a trap at all? Is this a game that you'd be disappointed if they lost at home?
Yeah, I would be disappointed if they lost this game at home. I look at this game as a game the Eagles should win, and I don't think they're at a point where they're going to overlook a team or something like that. The Jaguars are off to a good start this season, and they've created a little bit of a national buzz, but I still don't see any way that the Jaguars should be able to walk into Philadelphia and beat the Eagles on their home field. I would fully expect the Eagles to be 4-0 at about 4:15 on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, and obviously you have a situation where there's going to be a lot of emotion in that place with Doug Peterson coming back. I think it should be an interesting environment there. So look at the Giants. They're playing the Bears. This is a Giants team that lost at home. They get another shot here. Now, we all talked about, it looks like the culture's changing, feel good. And then you lose to the Cowboys last week. Okay, that's got a good defense. But if you lose to the Bears, does that start to shift the mindset already?
Yeah, if you lose to the Bears, maybe you're headed in the wrong direction, right? I do think the thing that is interesting about the Bears-Giants game is one of these teams is going to be 3-1 on Sunday afternoon when the game's done. And there would have been nobody, I would say, before the season that would have said at the end of week 4, either the Bears or Giants will be 3-1. So to me, it's a great opportunity for the Giants. They kind of squandered an opportunity last Monday night. They had some growing pains. The rookie on the offensive line, Evan Neal, he give up 3-4 sacks. Every time I looked at my TV, he was picking up Daniel Jones off the ground. So maybe he had a growing pains game. Maybe the Giants can learn from that game on Monday night. But it's another opportunity for the Giants. 3-1 sounds a lot better than 2-2. 2-2 is a little bit like, here we go again. 3-1, you're back on the right track.
Yeah, and the one thing is, too, the Giants, if they can win and go 3-1, as you mentioned, this NFC seems to be pretty wide open.
Yeah, absolutely. You look around, that's one of the reasons why I like the Eagles. I'm so high on the Eagles is I don't think the NFC has really that many great teams in it, that many dominant teams in it. You certainly haven't seen anything from Tampa, Minnesota, Green Bay, Los Angeles that would certainly, frighten you off or look like a super team, basically. There's a lot of parity in that NFC, and it's open for the taking, basically. So if you can get to 3-1, you can set yourself up for some meaningful football in, as we get into November and December. And that's something the Giants haven't had since they last made the playoffs. And I believe, 2016 when they took the boat picture and went up to Green Bay and Odell dropped the touchdown pass. And it's been all downhill since then.
There was rumors, Mike, you were on that boat.
I was not on the boat. I would like to stay for the record. I was not on the boat.
Should be a fun weekend. I know a lot of high school football shifting, changing, turning. Sounds like you might even be at a game right now.
Yeah, I'm at a game right now, late in the second quarter here, over here at Oakcrest. Oakcrest up on Absegami, 13-0. And then later on, I'll be headed down to Atlantic City, EHT at Atlantic City. So the Storm's kind of shifted Saturday's games to early Friday, gives you an opportunity to get out and see a lot of teams play, do a little doubleheader. Phillies are playing a doubleheader today, and so am I. We're both it's a great day for two, as Ernie Banks would say.
All right, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. Good weekend, NFC East, Phillies. Oh, by the way, Mets and Braves. What's happening there?
Exactly. You know what? My take on the Mets tonight, DeGrom goes to the mound. It is a must. DeGrom, I want to see 8 innings, 1 run allowed. That's a minimum. It's DeGrom to Edwin Diaz tonight. I don't want to see a DeGrom game where he strikes out 10, 11 guys, gives up 3 runs in 6 innings, and leaves the game with the score like 3-2 or 3-3. If DeGrom is everything that people say he is, tonight is a must. 8 innings pitched, 1 run allowed. That's it. That's what the Mets need from DeGrom tonight.
All right. The NL East, by the way, we'll have that game on 97.3 ESPN. The NL East is on the line this weekend. The wild card race, NFC East, all that and more. Check out the high school football coverage at AC Press McGarry. All right, Mike, we'll talk to you Monday, bud.
All right, enjoy the weekend, everybody. Thanks.
And Mike will be back on Monday's show right here on the Sports Bash Live. Hey, I need caller number 7, 609-573-3776. I didn't forget you, 609-573-3776. Caller 7, you are entered to win Eagles Club Box tickets when they host the Commanders Monday night, November 14th at the Link. We will be live at Garden State Beer Company on Friday, October 28th. Caller number 7, you'll be invited, and you have a chance to win Club Box Eagles tickets. Good luck.
The Claridge Hotel has been around for a number of years. Here at Park Place in the world-famous Atlantic City Boardwalk, just steps away from the beach. So we've had a number of people come through our doors, each with their own style and taste, which is why they chose the Claridge to take their visit to new heights. Book your getaway today at Claridge.com.
We live in a community that cares. We make sure everyone eats, everyone plays, everyone stays warm, and everyone is protected. We support our youth in organizations that teach the value of community and self-worth. We make strides against breast cancer every day. Together, in this community, we make a difference. RK Chevrolet, RK Kia, and RK Subaru, proudly serving our community since 1982.
The Claridge is the best destination to stay and play on the boardwalk in Atlantic City. Just steps away from the ocean, the Claridge has it all. The city's ultimate rooftop bar, wonderful restaurants, classic guest rooms with ultra-high-speed Wi-Fi, and 100,000 square feet of banquet and convention space for events and the wedding of your dreams. Book at Claridge.com for the best rates and find the best package for your stay. Discover all the Claridge has to offer.
Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app on this Friday edition. It is Sal Pal Friday. It's Happy Hour Friday. We got Eagles and Jags this weekend right here on 97.3 ESPN. And, of course, you can hear the game right here. Mel Reese and Mike Quick call all the action. The pregame coverage starts at noon. The kickoff at 1. John in Ocean City is our latest qualifier. Congratulations to him. We'll see him at Garden State Beer Company on October 28th. We got tickets to give away, club box seats. My seats I'm giving to you to go see the Eagles and Commanders Monday night, November 14th. We'll talk about the Eagles 3-0. Doug Peterson's coming back. It's a Sal Pal Friday here as Sal Pal Antonio joins me right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Sal Pal, welcome back, man. Happy Friday.
Hey, thanks a lot, Mike Gill. How are you?
I'm living there, man. 3-0. I feel like this is a fun game. Dougie P's coming back.
Oh, boy, this is a fun game. There's definitely no question about that because you watch the Jaguars on film, and they're playing very good football. They are flying around on defense, and Trevor Trevor Lawrence is making plays. He's been very accurate with the football. When they don't protect him, he gets outside the pocket and he's on the run. They're going to present some problems for the Eagles. I frankly don't understand why that number has stayed at 6.5. I know it started at 7, and we had a little bit of reverse line movement, but not really that much, Michael.
I know 6.5, the number has been there pretty much all week now. Jacksonville went to LA last week, beat the Chargers, looked impressive. And Sal, that kind of put them on the map a little bit, right? I mean, the expectations were, not really all that high so far for Jacksonville, but how did that change the perception of this team?
I think it put them on the map quite a bit. I mean, 38 points on the road is never easy to do, especially if you're a team that has been perennially with a number 1 pick in the draft. They've always been a doormat. And Doug has turned them around fairly quickly offensively. You could see a little bit of the RPOs that the Eagles ran in 2016 and 2017 with Carson Wentz and Nick Foles. You can definitely see with Mike Caldwell, who we all know very well, their defensive coordinator, you can see a lot of what he learned from Todd Bowles in Tampa, especially with the linebacker position. They've got some linebackers who have real speed that are going to present problems for Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders.
Sal, one of the things the Eagles did last week was they got to the quarterback without blitzing, right? We always ask blitz, get to the quarterback. They didn't need the blitz last week. But is this a week where you think John Gannon is going to have to be a little bit more creative with his play calling?
I think it'll have to be different. So they have all of these sacks, but it's skewed, right? Because Carson Wentz was just a statue. He held on to the ball very Carson Wentz-like last week. And they unleashed the hounds on him and sacked him 9 times. Lawrence moves, and he moves very, very well. And he's delivering the ball well on the run. I think that in this particular game, you're going to have to find a way to shadow him, maybe spy him a little bit with one of your faster, more aggressive linebackers, or maybe even Hassan Reddick.
Mm-hmm.
I see them, I anticipate them dedicating like a little mini spy to Trevor Lawrence, because he will hurt them if he's allowed to just roll out of the pocket and decide whether he's going to throw or run. Either way, he can hurt them.
Yeah, this is a team, too. I think that Jacksonville is probably underrated by most people in the way that they stop the run. This is a very active front seven. And, Philly didn't run the ball all that well last week against Washington. So you wonder, can Jacksonville, Sal, make the Eagles a one-dimensional opponent?
Yeah, Devin Lloyd. Watch that guy on Sunday. He's a player.
Yeah.
They had a lot of former first-round picks on that team. A lot. And Lloyd can play. He plays the position like the guy in like the guy in Tampa, White. So I think that he will present some problems. And they have a lot of takeaways. They got 8 takeaways. Mike, they had 9 all of last year, Mike. In the first 3 weeks, they have 8.
Yeah. Oh, well, and listen,
they're going after the football, and is there one guy on this team that fumbles? You know who he is.
Oh, and it's funny you say
Miles
that.
Sanders.
Right, and it's funny you say that because one of the questions we asked in that first hour is how much does the familiarity that this Doug Peterson coaching staff have factor in? And one of the answers I gave is I don't know how many areas other than maybe Doug says, hey, one guy that we know can cough the ball up is Miles Sanders, so maybe we try to bait them into running more to try to force that turnover.
Yeah, I mean, the answer has been Jalen Hurts' ability to throw out of the pocket. That's the biggest difference between last year and this year. I think in the entire NFL, the entire NFL.
Yeah.
If you were asking me, all right, what's the biggest difference? Is it Devontae Adams going to Las Vegas? No. Is it Tyreek Hill going to Kansas City? No. Is it Tom Brady being 45 years old? All right, maybe. In the entire league is that Jalen Hurts can throw the ball out of the pocket in the way he could not last year. He leads the NFL in yards per pass attempt. Leads the NFL. Leads it. And all we talked about all summer long on every show, and me and you on your show, is can he be a good enough passer from the pocket? Well, geez, after 3 weeks, he's kind of answered that question. And they have the number one overall offense in the National Football League. So if you're asking me what's the most improved team in the league, Eagles.
Yeah.
What's the most improved quarterback in the league? Jalen Hurts.
You know, the thing that you brought up about Jalen, and it's not, to take anything away from him, but it's to add to how much just adding A.J. Brown helped his development as a player. We saw it with Josh Allen when he got Diggs. We see it when you get that player, but how much of it is that, you know what? He doesn't have to be pinpoint accurate, perfect every single time because these guys will help him out.
Yes, and I don't know if you were watching Scott Van Pelt after the game on Sunday, but he had Tim Hasselbeck on. And Hasselbeck did a really good job of breaking down how much pass protection and the Eagles wide receivers taking down contested throws has helped Jalen Hurts. So if you were to ask me percentage-wise how much Brown and Devontae Smith, both of them, have helped development Jalen Hurts, I would say it's a solid 25%. I would say it's a solid 50% that they're healthy and their pass protection there. And then 25% just Jalen, getting better in terms of mechanics, slimming down, study habits, all of that better.
Right.
So, as Ron Jaworski likes to say, and he told me very early on when I became the host of the matchup show, the quarterback position is the most dependent of any position in professional sports. How many contested throws have we seen Devontae Smith already come down with Lynn Swan-like?
The play that he made, now he might have been out of bounds, but the play that he made just to go up and go get that ball last week early on the far right sideline just kind of shows you how much, the game has kind of slowed down for him too. Like he got himself adjusted, saw the ball, and went up and high-pointed it. I thought that was the big thing at where he went up and caught that ball.
I don't care how much studying you're doing or how much awareness. I mean, that's just pure athletic ability. I'm sorry.
Well, and then the throw, Sal, on the touchdown to A.J. Brown. I mean, he's got him one-on-one, and he just puts it right on the backside that Brown can get him. And then that's a grown man catching that ball and just dragging the D-back. I mean, that's just, good awareness by everybody. Jalen, AJ, the matchup, and just individual talent taking over. And that's the difference between, quite frankly, this team to last year. They didn't have a guy who could make that play.
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen it because you're very aware of everything that's going on. I'm sure you have seen Seth Walder's column on ESPN.com where he has these advanced wide receiver metrics that he published on Tuesday. Did you see those?
I did, yep.
Okay, and A.J. Brown was number one in the wide receiver metric of being open. Did you see that for the last 2 years?
Yeah,
and number one.
And it's funny because your buddy Keyshawn Johnson there on SportsCenter the other night also kind of was given his wide receiver duos, and he has A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith as the best duo in football right now. And that's saying a lot because there's some pretty good duos, but to say these are the best two on the same team, it just shows you how much further this offense and what more they can do. And that's where we get to Shane Steichen and the job that he has really done.
Yeah. I love that those advanced wide receiver metrics. Those are important because the passing game has really become, analytical in the way baseball has. And I know you're a big baseball guy. So, which is really funny is that A.J. Brown's Instagram handle is always open.
Yep.
And here he is, number one in the league according to the advanced metrics, and it perfectly dovetails with his IG handle. It's incredibly funny.
Sal Pal, ESPN senior national correspondent here. The Eagles taking on this Jaguars team. And I guess, Sal, one of the other things that Philadelphia, that our listeners can kind of get from you is why their defense, Slay, Bradbury, Maddox, they have been outstanding. And I think that has helped John Gannon feel a little bit more confident in the way he's calling his defense.
Yeah, players make coaches, right, for sure. And Howie Roseman has given Jonathan Gannon the keys to the kingdom and said, okay, we're going to give you a couple corners, and we're going to go out and find you a safety, and we're going to load it up so they can't, And you're right. So I sent you the blitz numbers. The Eagles are blitzing after 3 weeks 18% of the time, which is fifth lowest in the league, and yet they have the second most sacks. And, part of it, again, is skewed because of Carson. But nevertheless, you can just tell that Gannon trusts his secondary, and now he's getting home. After a while, these guys are getting home, and they trust each other, and it is working for sure, 100% hand in hand. They're 3-0 for a reason. They're the only unbeaten team for a reason. They're the best team in the league right now. Mike, the Eagles are the best team in the league. There's not a team that you could say could come in here into Philly and beat the Eagles. I mean, you could say, all right, you got to go on the road. Tough to go on the road, like, say, maybe Kansas City. That's always a tough out. It might be tough to go down and beat Tampa and beat Brady, sure, for sure. But Green Bay, it's still not easy to go to Green Bay and beat Aaron Rodgers. But is there a team that the Eagles what team would be favored over the Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field right now? What team in the league? Give me one.
I said Sal, and I don't think we looked at the list. I don't know that there's a game they're going to be an underdog the rest of the season. And the only game would be, if Green Bay doesn't lose another game by the time they get to Week 12, but I can't imagine if Philly is playing as well as they are, that they would be a home dog.
Where is that game?
It's in Philadelphia. It is Week 12 in Philadelphia, November 27th. So it's right after the Thanksgiving.
Oh, geez, that's a big game.
Sunday nighter.
That's huge.
Yeah, and that's the only one. I don't see a game on this schedule unless at Dallas late in the year on Christmas Eve that Dallas is playing well enough that maybe they would be a home favorite, Dallas, in that spot.
Yeah, so what do we think about this game? So this is interesting. So Jacksonville is a road 6.5-point dog 2 weeks in a row. You realize that, right?
Yep. Well, it opened at 7 last week and ended up going down to 3.5 because of the whole.
On game day.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you mean because of Herbert last year? But it opened. Yeah, but they're a 6.5-point dog for 2 weeks in a row for all intents and purposes. The last team to win back-to-back outright as 6.5-point road dogs was Jacksonville in 2013.
How about it? Well, and Sal, I that's a great point you bring up. Is this team didn't win for 17 straight home games. Are we supposed to expect they're going to do it twice in a row after having to go into L.A., back to Jacksonville, and imagine some weather issues down there this week, and then from Jacksonville up to Philadelphia? That's a lot to ask a team like this.
It is. It definitely is. It definitely is. The only thing that if you're looking for something for me to be concerned about, it's they get a turnover from Miles Sanders early, a short field, get up early, and the Eagles have to fight back into the game, and then the Eagles don't cover. That's what I concern myself with.
How do you think Doug's approaching this? How do you think what kind of emotions do you think he's got entering Philadelphia?
Nobody knows him better than I do, as you know, Mike. Very close to the guy personally and professionally, and he was very upset when he got fired, very upset. And he wants to come back here and win. There's no question.
Obviously, there's a lot of emotion entering this game for him. Do you think that will affect his team at all, knowing how much their head coach wants to try to win this game?
I don't know. I don't know the team very well in terms of the personnel. They have a lot of young players that we simply have not followed very much, right? They've been out of sight, out of mind for a long time and sort of off the radar. And they're just climbing onto our radar, and we're just starting to watch them and look at their plays and figure out what they're trying to do week in and week out. So I would say it's tough to figure that out. I would say 1, 2, you can tell that the team really likes Doug a lot. I mean, they've turned their season and their fortunes around super quick. So you only do that if you're responding to your coaches. And you're a coach. You know that. I mean, if the players are not responding to you or your message, and it all falls flat, then they're going to be flat. So you got to know that they're invested emotionally in Doug. And that's got to help him for sure. But to me, the Eagles they all across the board, all 22, they're the best. They're playing the best football in the NFL right now. That accounts for a lot. That can be a great equalizer for emotion, for a reunion game, for a revenge game, whatever you want to put on it. All 22 of the Eagles are playing the best football in the league right now. They are, and that's the reason why they're the only undefeated team.
Are they on the radar enough, Jacksonville, to get Sal Pal's presence on Sunday?
I am going to be there, my brother.
There we go.
As I like to say on Matchup, and now we come to the number one game of the week. You know why, Greg Cosell? Because I'm going to be there.
Sal Pal Antonio will be there. All right, Sal, you gave us a concern, but give us a couple keys to victory.
Yeah, I think it's protect the ball early and often, the entire game. Jacksonville wants to take it away. There's a reason why Nick Sirianni wore that T-shirt about turnovers, because he understands the numbers. He knows what's firing up this Jacksonville team. They are taking the ball away, creating a short field for their young quarterback, and scoring and scoring and scoring. They put 38 on the road, up on the road against the Superchargers last week. So it's protect the football. That's number one. Get an early lead and force Jacksonville to play from behind. That would be number two. And number three, be aggressive down the stretch. Don't take your foot off the pedal, because Doug Fearless Peterson is definitely not going to do that. He's calling Philly special on fourth down, in the end zone, in the Super Bowl against Bill Belichick. Remember that? He called that.
Well, there you go. And I guess 6.5, by the way, is the number as we've chronicled. Do we get a cover? Do we get a win and a cover, or is it just a win?
Well, yeah, Michael, it's such a big number, right? It's such a big number for such an emotional game.
6.5, right? And this is a Jacksonville team that I think it's tough to get a read on, because the preseason expectations weren't there, and now they're starting to change on you. Those teams are always tough this early in the season when they're kind of changing on the fly.
Mike, I'm going to say they don't cover. I'm going to say the Eagles win, but they do not cover. I think they're going to win 27-21, and they won't cover by half a point.
All right, Sal Pal, ESPN senior national correspondent. He'll be in Philly. Make sure you get up and check out all the pregame coverage Sunday morning on ESPN, the matchup show. And, of course, you'll see Sal's live reports from Lincoln Financial Field. Sal Pal Antonio.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. Thank you to Johnny G, the Griner team of Burger Realty in Ocean City. Those guys are great. Thanks for having me on the Sports Bash, Michael. It's a big week. It's a really big week. I mean, remember when we were going through the schedule during the summer, and we said you take it in 4-game chunks, right? And if you could be 3-1, wow, Mike. If you could be 4-0 at the quarter pole, that's a huge wow, right? That's a big, big, big thing. It's big.
Well, I think the expectations are slowly changing for this team.
Yes.
All right, Sal. Well, next week on to Arizona, as Bill Belichick would say.
Let's not go there yet.
But let's not get there. Right. We'll be back on Sal Pal Friday next week. Eagles, Jacksonville right here. Sal, enjoy the game, man.
Hey, thanks for having me on your program, Michael. Good job.
As always, he'll be back on another Sal Pal Friday here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. And if you're watching the live video at BFA live stream on YouTube, you can watch the show live. And Sal Pal Antonio joined us here. I think, he mentioned it twice. The biggest concern, the turnover early, and he mentioned by name, Sanders. Imagine that. Sanders gets the ball, fumbles. Jacksonville scoops, scores, gets the ball back, gets a 3-and-out, gets a big play. That's the fear, too. I agree. We mentioned some of the keys to the game, protect the ball early and often. It sounds as if, the big concern here is kind of what I mentioned, is if, in fact, Doug Peterson says, hey, listen, let's try to make them run the ball with Miles Sanders. I know how to get that ball. I know with all this week how we can strip and get that ball from him. We all saw who called the Philly play, and it wasn't Doug Peterson. Yeah, no, it was the idea came from Foles. He mentioned it, but the coach has to okay it. You know, it's not like Foles is recklessly going to go execute the play without getting the coach to sign off on it. So that's a pretty literal text. Yes, we all saw who called the Philly. Foles had the idea. Peterson okayed it. I mean, whatever makes you sleep better at night, but the coach has to be the one to okay it. You can give Foles all the credit you want for coming up with the idea. He deserves it. You want Philly? Doug said, yeah, you know what? Let's do that. I mean, he could have said no. He could have said, in this spot? Heck no. They both get credit for me. It's like we always want to give 100% credit to someone. We never can be like, hey, 50-50. You both had a hand in it. It's okay to give more people credit than just one. It's like the whole Nathaniel Hackett thing yesterday. Or 2 days ago. I don't have a problem with Hackett recognizing where he has a weakness and saying, if I want to be my best, I need someone to come in here and help me with the clock. What's wrong with needing help sometimes? We can't all do 100 things 100% of the best. That Philly play is an example. Someone thought about it, threw it to Peterson. Peterson said, you know what, it's a great idea. Let's do it. You know, sometimes you have good ideas. You can't do anything with them until you get an investor. Does the investor get no credit because he gave you the money to allow your idea to get off the ground? Of course the investor gets credit. You're better than that text message guy. You're better than that. Jeez. I mean, we get to the point where we nitpick who gets credit for the Philly play. Really? It's supposed to be happy hour Friday, not grouchy Friday. Get your game on at the Gallery Bar, booking games at Ocean Casino Resort this football season. Cheers your favorite drinks. Cheer on your favorite team. Go to the Gallery and Ocean Casino Resort. Go for the win. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. You must be 21 or older to play. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Speaking of the Gallery, go to our website. We have a $100 gift card and an overnight stay to Ocean Casino Resort. I'm going to announce the winner today during Happy Hour Friday with the PT at 4:45 tonight. Actually, 5 o'clock tonight. PT, 5 o'clock tonight. No Casey Joyner. Casey, actually, we're thinking about him. He's down in that Florida area, and no power for Casey. So no one thought every game with Casey today. But PT is in the 5 o'clock spot. We'll announce the winner then. I'm back with more Sports Bash. Ryan Rothstein coming up.
We live in a community that cares. We make sure everyone eats, everyone plays, everyone stays warm, and everyone is protected. We support our youth in organizations that teach the value of community and self-worth. We make strides against breast cancer every day. Together, in this community, we make a difference. RK Chevrolet, RK Kia, and RK Subaru, proudly serving our community since 1982.
When it comes to taking care of your physical wellness, maintaining good health of your bones and muscles, you want a team of doctors you can trust and who hold themselves to the highest standards. At Premier Orthopedic Associates, we believe that you should live life at your best. Our team of non-operative and operative orthopedic specialists strive for the highest standards, exceptional outcomes, and happiest patients. Come and experience the Premier difference.
The Claridge is the best destination to stay and play on the boardwalk in Atlantic City. Just steps away from the ocean, the Claridge has it all. The city's ultimate rooftop bar, wonderful restaurants, classic guest rooms with ultra-high-speed Wi-Fi, and 100,000 square feet of banquet and convention space for events and the wedding of your dreams. Book at Claridge.com for the best rates and find the best package for your stay. Discover all the Claridge has to offer.
.331 Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Watch live video on the BFA live stream YouTube channel. You can check us out there each and every day from 2 to 6. And, of course, we have a happy hour Friday happening right now here on the Sports Bash. Ryan Rothstein's with us now, and, of course, he joins us Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays as we take a look at all the weekend action, what's happening now. By the way, Phils are in action, and they are winning 3-0. Woohoo!
What's happening, man?
Let me start with this, by the way. Right, we got Eagles and Jags, right? And we've got the Phillies weekend here. The Phillies, obviously, this weekend is a huge thing for them to make the playoffs. Are you into that at all, or do you only Eagles right now?
I'm not into the Phils at all.
You're done.
I'm not done. I guess you can say I'm done. I mean, I'm following them, but frustrated doesn't even do it justice, Mike. It doesn't do it justice. This team right now, and I'm not losing sleep over it. I'm just done. right? Like I have just been through it with this team, man. We've had a history, and the history is not positive. I'm just ready to move on. It's the Eagles are 3-0. They have been, I think, impressive is a safe way to put it. And the Phillies, they have just been the complete opposite. Harper's been bad. If you want to make excuses, I know some are valid. I mean, everyone's been bad. I'm not trying to pinpoint Harper, but the $330 million man cannot go unnamed. This team's just been frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I agree with the frustration, but I'm one of those people, like, I don't care how bad you look or what you play like. Just get there, right? And on any day in professional sports, you can change, you could flip, the switch goes on. Maybe it doesn't, but I definitely, like, I get the people's frustration. I'm watching it, I see it. But there's a part of me that it's like, look, I want to see them get in and see if they can play at their ceiling.
Were you excited for this game today before it started? Were you like, oh, yes, the Phillies are on?
It's hard. It's an afternoon game. It's a doubleheader against a bad team. There's nobody there. I mean, looks like a Phillies home game.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like a Ventnor Babe Ruth game. My goodness.
Yeah, I mean, we draw more people for an Atlantic Shore, regional game than this. Look, it's tough. I agree with what you're saying, but they're like, put it this way. I am full-fledged, like, I want to see them get to the playoffs and see some playoff baseball again.
Why? Listen, 100% with you.
I'm a sports fan. I want my team to make the playoffs.
I know. Let me clarify when I say why. I'm not saying I'm rooting against it, but when I say why, it's because you and I are both well aware of the issues that exist with this team and organization. I will be happy if they get in, but it's just going to be so like anti-dramatic. It's just going to be like, okay, they're in, and then they're most likely going to get the brakes beat off them. And they have a lot of questions that need answered. Once again, another offseason. I mean, I guess we can say, woohoo, a decade drought, but it's like a weird end to that drought if they get in, don't you think?
I mean, the extra playoff team, right, you could make the argument that, like, hey, if they didn't have the extra playoff team, they're not really a playoff team, but they do have it. It's a watered-down version of them making the playoffs, no question about it. But I think they need to get into the playoffs to then get it, much like the Eagles did. They got in the playoffs last year. They weren't ready, but they got their butts kicked, and they got a chance to see just how far they were from being the 6 seed or 7 seed in the playoffs to being a Super Bowl contender. I think that's where the Phillies need to get to. They need to get to the playoffs to find out, okay, we had a nice little roster. We made the playoffs, but we got whipped, or, hey, who knows, maybe they beat somebody. And now we know really how far we are from those playoff teams.
Yeah, I disagree in the sense of, don't we know what they need to do in the offseason, regardless of what happens in the playoffs? I'll get what you're saying for the morale for the players that are already in that clubhouse, but as far as the fans and Dombrowski,
I'm not talking about the morale, though. I'm talking about the front office. Like you say, don't we already know? I don't know. What do we think this team is lacking that they need? Like you would say, their lineup is deep. They have 3 or 4 pretty good starting pitchers. Not every team in baseball can say that. Their bullpen hasn't been a dumpster. They've been pretty solid when, with Robertson and Dominguez, and, Alvarado has been way better than we thought. And I mean, so what do we know what they need? I'm not sure. I think one of the things we need to know is, are these winners? Are these guys winning players?
Listen, if they get in and if they surprise us, we'll have a surprising answer to that question. So I hear you, but the way they've been stumbling and bumbling here to the finish line, we sort of already have that answer. I felt like this team was different in the heart of the summer. I felt like this team was actually developing a winning culture and a winning mentality. And my goodness, here we are once again on September 30th, looking back at this month and saying, what the hell is wrong with this team when September hits?
A lot of people would say, I don't know if a lot of people, but I do see a lot of people seemingly blaming the manager. This guy needs to go. Like, how many managers do you need to go through to realize that it's not the manager on this team, that it is, in fact, to me anyway, the core group of guys? They don't have winners. They don't have a winning group of players on this team. They've gone through Gabe Kapler. He wasn't good enough. He won 107 games last year. Guess what? He's good enough. They went through Joe Girardi. He sucked. No, he won a World Series. He was good enough. So now it's Rob Thompson. There's a reason why nobody wanted to hire Rob Thompson. No, the team is not – they're not winners. That's the problem. It's not the manager's fault. It's this team, the core group of guys, they are not winners.
Who? All right, so and I agree with everything you're saying. I'm going to throw this out there. I'll pose it to you. Listeners can obviously chew on it. Is it fair to start looking at Harper and thinking about Harper as – I'm not blaming him, but my goodness, as I said earlier, I mean, we would be, I think, fools to not bring him up. It just seems like whatever he touches, he's not turning garbage into gold, as Mark Zumoff once said.
Good point. Look, I saw a tweet today. The Phillies were, 20-9 without him, and they are 12-17 since he's been back. I don't know what that means. I don't know why.
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
Is it? I mean, exactly, isn't it? Why were they playing so well without him? You've entered him. Now, he hasn't done much since he's come back. If he was playing at the level that he played at last year, an MVP level, I mean, I don't know. Is he not the winning player?
Fair or foul, and I know a lot of listeners will scream foul, and it probably is. But I right now, you can't say he's a winner. He's not a champion. He's not a winner. He leaves Washington. The next year, they win the World freaking Series, and he hasn't done bleep here. So, I mean, 2 + 2 usually equals 4.
Right. Somebody just asked, Joe from EHT says, would you give Thompson a contract to be the manager next year? I mean, do you want to go through another manager? Is that what we're trying to do? Is that
he said get rid of Thompson? I missed that.
No, he asked, would you guys give Thompson a contract to be the manager next year?
Probably not, man. Probably not. Let me disclaim.
You have 4 managers in 5 years? You had Kapler.
It's bad. But if he's not the right guy, you can't keep him because of that.
No, but again, it's what is the right guy in baseball? It's not it's like the basketball thing somewhat, but it's look, how much is Rob Thompson impacting these games? Or how much impact did he have in the reason why they're even in this spot?
Right. You can't ignore what he did.
Right. When he got the job, they were not a playoff team. They were under 500.
9
pretty
games
embarrassingly under. Right. I was going to say pretty embarrassingly under 500. So what role did he have as the manager to get them to where they are now? And now what role does he have into why they're completely crapping themselves?
Exactly. I mean, listen, he's been playing with house money since he stepped in as interim manager, but he is managing for a permanent job potentially or not. And if this team ends up not being a playoff team, I don't know how you can decide to promote him as permanent. Not saying he didn't do a good job, but I think you have to look in another direction, as crazy as that is. And I think they need to do a lot more than just that.
Yeah, see, baseball's a weird one, too. It's what manager are you getting? Most people don't want these retread guys, right? You don't want, some guy who has been fired over and over again. Is there a young, unknown guy that is just waiting in the wings? Are the Phillies smart enough to find that guy, Or do you just say, listen, this guy steadied the ship, got us to where we were going, and it's my job to tweak the roster and find some winning players. Now, a lot of people, by the way, myself included, thought that Schwarber was one of those guys. That he was a winning player that was going to come in here and help but who else? Hoskins has never been to the playoffs. Segura's never been to the playoffs. Obviously, Stott's a rookie. Bohm is in his 3rd year. The center field situation was a disaster at the start of the season. Marsh has not been to the playoffs. Castellanos may have been to the playoffs once or twice, maybe. Real Muto, I don't think, has been to the playoffs.
No.
Wheeler has not pitched in the playoffs. Nola has not pitched in the playoffs. Yeah. So they just don't have guys on the Harper. Was Harper on a playoff team? I think they made the
Good
playoffs.
question. I
the
want to say
year.
one.
No, he was on the year where they had Strasburg, and they didn't pitch Strasburg, and they got knocked out.
That's right.
So I think he's been to the playoffs a couple of times, Harper, but I don't think they've ever won a series. So you have Schwarber and Harper are really the only two guys on this roster that have ever been to the playoffs.
Things need to get, shook up, shaken up. Is it shaken up, shook up? Tomato.
Shaken, not stirred.
There you go. They got to do something radical. I'm not saying trade Harper, but something of the sort.
Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Well, they might make the playoffs, so let's hold your horses on that one.
Yeah, maybe they'll win the World Series. Who knows?
If they do, how crazy would that be? One of the craziest things. The Cardinals won with 85 wins one year, and the Braves won last year with the least amount of wins in all of the playoff teams. So,
yeah, they just have to do everything the complete opposite way they've been doing it. That's all.
Sports Bash brought to you by your Delaware Valley Acura dealers with new inventory arriving daily. Find your award-winning local Acura dealership today. Check out Acura's lineup online at DelValAcuraDealers.com. High school football tonight on our website, 973ESPN.com. You can watch a couple of high school games. Check out our website to find the game that you have the most interest in. We've got the Anchor Bowl down in Cape May, Middle and Lower, Williamstown and Cherokee. Both games on our website, 973ESPN.com. Don't forget, enter to win. It's your final day. $100 gift card, overnight stay at Ocean Casino Resort. Go to our website or download the app and listen for your name tonight at 5 o'clock during Happy Hour Friday with the PT or with Ryan coming up next.
We're here at the brand new RK Service Center. Got to be super excited about all the things that are going on here at RK.
We are. We're super excited. We've been waiting this for a long time. We're very proud of this facility. We are hiring new technicians, so we're offering a $1,500 sign-on bonus. You can check with our managers in terms of the details on that. But along with that, we offer healthcare, dental, eye, 401k with a match, and on it goes.
No better place to look than right here at RK Auto Group.
RKAutogroup.com, but individually for each manufacturer would be MyRKChevy.com, MyRKKia.com, and MyRKSubaru.com.
When it comes to taking care of your physical wellness, maintaining good health of your bones and muscles, you want a team of doctors you can trust and who hold themselves to the highest standards. At Premier Orthopedic Associates, we believe that you should live life at your best. Our team of non-operative and operative orthopedic specialists strive for the highest standards, exceptional outcomes, and happiest patients. Come and experience the Premier difference.
We live in a community that cares. We make sure everyone eats, everyone plays, everyone stays warm, and everyone is protected. We support our youth in organizations that teach the value of community and self-worth. We make strides against breast cancer every day. Together, in this community, we make a difference. RK Chevrolet, RK Kia, and RK Subaru, proudly serving our community since 1982.
All right, 3:49 on a happy hour Friday. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Live video on the BFA Live Sports YouTube channel. You can watch us there, powered by BFA Sports. Ryan Rothstein's back. We'll close out the hour. A little NFL, a little betting thoughts here. Eagles and Jags. And, of course, you can hear the game on 97.3 ESPN, right? We got a couple betting thoughts on that real quick. I just saw these come out. The most wagered underdog is Jacksonville. They're one of them. 61% of the money is on Jacksonville at -6.5. The most wagered over is Philadelphia-Jacksonville. 68% are over 45.5. So let's get some thoughts on this game and the betting thoughts.
Yeah, well, Jacksonville plus 6.5. Just to clear it up, I knew what you were saying, but you said minus by accident. But yeah, man. I mean, listen, this is one. I like the under because if 70% of the wagers are going with the over, I typically like to zag when people are zigging, but I don't even know if I'm going to go that way. Just throwing that one out there. There's some player props I like. I'll get to in a minute or two, but I told you earlier in the week I'm staying miles away. Not Miles Sanders. I'm staying miles away from this game from the betting perspective against the spread. Because I don't want to lay the 6.5 with the Birds. If I had to bet it, I would take the 6.5 with Jacksonville all day. I think this is a game that not only Jacksonville can cover MG, I think this is a game that Jacksonville can come in and steal outright. So I would take the 6.5 all day long. I don't know where you stand.
I think I probably, if I had to, pick a side here, I probably would go with Philadelphia, and I'll tell you why. I think Jacksonville right now, it feels like Philadelphia is like everybody's pick, especially with Miami losing last night, as the best team, the most complete team. But I actually think more attention is on Jacksonville right now because of the way they played last week. They went on the road. They won that game handily. You got Peterson coming in and all the emotion around him. And I almost feel like it's just too much too soon for Jacksonville. Are they going to win 2 straight road games? Can they – look, they're in Jacksonville. We know what's going on in Florida right now. What was their practice like this week? There's probably a lot of distractions going on. And I legitimately think this Eagles team's pretty good. So the number's big.
They are.
But the number's big. I agree. But I think Philly has too many horses. It's one of those things where maybe it's like they're close for a little bit. But I think in the end, Philadelphia is just better. Like, if Detroit played Philly in Philly, I don't think the game's as close as it was. The noise was a factor there. But I think Philly's probably 10 points better than Detroit most times. And I think Jacksonville's kind of in that spot. I think they're kind of on that Detroit level. Talent's there. Culture's changing. The one difference between Detroit and Jacksonville, they have a quarterback. Detroit doesn't.
They have a quarterback. They have a coach that they love playing for right now, which is something new. They have the top run defense in the NFL as well. All right, that's something to keep in mind or something to think about if you didn't realize it out there, anyone listening. So Jacksonville has a legitimate defense. Their strength is stopping the run. We'll see how they fare against Jalen Hurts. But if they're able to, slow him down a little bit, at least with his legs, Miles Sanders, the running game doesn't get going early. Philly goes back maybe to their old ways a little bit, tries to sling their way to a victory. Things can get weird. Things can get ugly. This is a big game for Doug Peterson as well. And there's a lot of attention on both of these teams. Jacksonville is a little bit, to use this phrase again, playing with house money because of the season that they're coming off of. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I think this game should be fun. It's going to be a good measuring stick for Jacksonville to see, hey, how seriously can we take them as a whole? I think they probably, who's in, who's out. I have the win in the South. I think they probably have. And I liked them before the season, though. I'm not someone who's
both
just
of us
jumping
did.
on them. Yeah, I'm not someone who's just jumping. In fact, last week, when they got 7, I jumped on that line at 7 right off the bat. I loved them at 7. It went down to 3.5 as the week went on because of the quarterback situation there. But I like this Jacksonville team, but I think it's a good kind of measuring stick for Philly to see. I think a lot of people are starting to look at Jacksonville a little differently, and I want to see if Philly can have another dominating performance. They have been one of the more dominant, complete teams so far.
There is, just a player prop or two I wanted to throw out there. Devontae Smith, and depending on where you look, but basically all across the board, 55.5 receiving yards for Devontae Smith. And I went back on Pro Football Reference in his 20 games this season, obviously early on in last year. 11 of the 20 games Devontae Smith has played in, he has gone over 55.5 receiving yards. So I love those numbers. I think Devontae is going to have a relatively strong game, at least get over that. So I'm going Devontae over his receiving mark. I'm also going Dallas Goedert over 42.5 receiving yards. 7 of his last 16 games, he's gone over that total. And I'll throw in a Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown.
All right, I was going to say, you're going to go Jalen Hurts rushing this week, or are you off that?
No, I'm riding that, baby. I'm riding that horse. That horse has been good to me.
Okay. Last night I got Joe Burrow over 273. I think he had 278 last night.
Oh, never a doubt, baby.
All right, Ryan Rothstein at Wise Rye. Check him out, of course, right here on the Sports Bash back next week as we take a look at Eagles, Jags, Phillies weekend. They're up 3-1 in the 9th, by the way. So last licks coming for the Phils, and then the Nationals have the bottom of the 9th. All right, man, we'll talk to you next week.
All right, brother.
609-573-3776, 609-573-3776. Caller number 7 right now. Caller number 7, 609-573-3776. Caller 7, you are entered to win Eagles Commanders Club Box seats for Monday night, November 14th at Lincoln Financial Field. Club Box seats, caller 7, 609-573-3776. Caller 7, we will see you at Garden State Beer Company on Friday, October 28th. Good luck.
The Claridge Hotel has been around for a number of years. Here at Park Place in the world-famous Atlantic City Boardwalk, just steps away from the beach. So we've had a number of people come through our doors, each with their own style and taste, which is why they chose the Claridge to take their visit to new heights. Book your getaway today at Claridge.com.
We live in a community that cares. We make sure everyone eats, everyone plays, everyone stays warm, and everyone is protected. We support our youth in organizations that teach the value of community and self-worth. We make strides against breast cancer every day. Together, in this community, we make a difference. RK Chevrolet, RK Kia, and RK Subaru, proudly serving our community since 1982.
When it comes to taking care of your physical wellness, maintaining good health of your bones and muscles, you want a team of doctors you can trust and who hold themselves to the highest standards. At Premier Orthopedic Associates, we believe that you should live life at your best. Our team of non-operative and operative orthopedic specialists strive for the highest standards, exceptional outcomes, and happiest patients. Come and experience the Premier difference.
The Claridge is the best destination to stay and play on the boardwalk in Atlantic City. Just steps away from the ocean, the Claridge has it all. The city's ultimate rooftop bar, wonderful restaurants, classic guest rooms with ultra-high-speed Wi-Fi, and 100,000 square feet of banquet and convention space for events and the wedding of your dreams. Book at Claridge.com for the best rates and find the best package for your stay. Discover all the Claridge has to offer.
And Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds broadcast. It's brought to you by the Gallery Bar, Book, and Games, Ocean Casino Resort. All football season will be there on Mondays. Cheer your favorite drinks while cheering on your favorite team. Go to the Gallery in Ocean Casino Resort. Go for the win. For more info, visit theoceanac.com. You must be 21 or older to play. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Weather in the forecast. Can we see some new roles? What is it going to be like in the building? And how good is this Jaguars team? We bring in Adam Caplan from InsideTheBirds.com and the Inside the Birds podcast, the Inside the Birds pre- and post-game show on all the Inside the Birds social media platforms. Adam Caplan joins me on this Friday edition of Football at 4. Welcome back, Adam. How are you?
Michael, good to be with you. Yeah, look, we our podcast, Mike, we dropped our preview today. And we also, by the way, had a very amazing interview and a discussion with former Eagles quarterbacks coach John DeFilippo for our special subscribers for our Patreon page. Just go to our patreon.com/InsideTheBirds, and you could be a member. And we're now, by agreement, we can't put it on YouTube, so only our subscribers get that. And it was unbelievable. It was an hour, and it was the best thing we've probably ever done. Pretty special interview, and John revealed a lot of stuff that most people don't know about the 17 team. Pretty amazing discussion with him. And then we got one coming up with a former NFL defensive coordinator who's going to break down Vic Fangio defense that the Eagles are running. It's the 34 defense and two deep safeties and so forth. So we're going to get that going. So again, you got to be a subscriber to that. But overall, Mike, yeah, we're looking forward to this game. We broke it down today, and we had a lot of interesting stuff on today's show.
Well, obviously, there's a lot of interesting things about this game and this week. And one of them, let's start with some injury issues here. Boston Scott out this week, what that might mean for the run game. I know he hasn't had a huge role in the offense, but this week might be interesting with the way that Jacksonville chooses to try to defend here. So the Eagles have 4 running backs active on the roster. What can we see at the running back position this week, and how much of a factor is the run game against a very stout Jacksonville front 7?
Yeah, as we speak here, the injury report isn't out, but Nick Sirianni, the head coach, pretty much confirmed it early today to the media that Boston Scott won't be available due to a rib injury. So that leaves them 3 running backs, only 53. Of course, they have 52 players, but Trey Sermon would be that guy. So I expect him to be active for this game. I don't know how much he would play because Kenny Gainwell's got a pretty secure job as a not always.
Avonte Maddox, by the way, has been ruled out.
Oh, is he? Is he? Okay, is that out? Is it?
This is the second week in a row that we've had the live injury update here that Avonte Maddox has been ruled out for the game. Yes, he has an ankle problem. Boston Scott is out. There you go.
Yes, all right. So A.J. Brown, who had a child, he's back. Dickerson will play. Milton Williams will play. Miles Sanders will play. So they all took all the reps. They took all their first-team reps today. Boston Scott did not practice, is out, and Avonte Maddox with the ankle. So, okay, slot corner is interesting. Zach McPherson has always been the emergency slot corner. Doesn't mean he'll be the main slot corner. They may divide that up a little bit. And also, by the way, C.J. Gardner-Johnson could absolutely do that because he did that for the Saints. So it's not good. And we're going to get to the weather in a second. So the Jaguars might run what we call a spread West Coast. Doug is running, I'm told, essentially the same offense he ran in Philly in 16 and 17. A lot of 11 personnel, a lot of 3 receivers. And, I'm also told Zay Jones didn't look good for him. He hurt his ankle, I think, late in Wednesday's practice. He didn't work yesterday. He was not scheduled to work today. I didn't get their injury report. So barring a recovery, a very quick recovery, he won't be available. So that does hurt him. They are a 3-receiver team. That would hurt them. But Avonte Maddox here, that's disappointing. Boy, I talked to someone earlier this week. They didn't seem to be very concerned about it. That's a little surprising that he won't be able to play. So Zach McPherson can do that. Josiah Scott can do that, by the way. One of the two. In fact, Josiah Scott was technically the guy last year. An emergency, but this year it could be McPherson or Scott. It doesn't really matter because just Chauncey Gardner-Johnson can do that. It normally would be a big deal. Had this been last year, Mike, this would be a real problem. But they have much.
Obviously, this is kind of on the fly here. We're just getting that breaking news that Avonte Maddox is not going to play, and they have been so solid in the secondary with those 3 guys. And then one of the big storylines before they got Bradbury, Adam, was if somebody got hurt, where's the depth? Do we feel like they have enough depth to be able to handle not having Maddox this week against this particular offense? This is probably, Adam, the best quarterback they're going to see so far this year.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, wait, you mean to this point? Okay,
yes.
Yeah. Trevor Lawrence has played well. Look, he had a very disappointing rookie season, to say the least. The coaching was not very good. Bad situation. We had a great note. We have some incredible notes on Lawrence today from our Jaguar sources on Lawrence, how he's being coached and who's doing it and how it's being done. But he's definitely improved. There's no doubt about it. And he has to keep doing it. By the way, they not that anyone's calling them a favorite after 3 weeks. It would be ridiculous to win the AFC South, but they're in the thick of it. No doubt. It's the NFL's worst division. So, the thing that you worry about, though, is because it's going to rain on Sunday, it's inevitable. We could just mention that now. Barring, I always look at the hour-by-hour stuff. Right now, unless that clears up, which is highly unlikely based on the latest weather pattern, because it's all the hurricane rain from down south, you better be able to run the football, as John DeFilippo told us when we did our interview with him this week. Because we asked him specifically about that, what happens if it rains on Sunday, because you got to have a run game. John's a big passing game guy. He's like, you got to have a run game because the ball's slippery, and also turnovers could be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, we know with the rain possibilities there, the team, one of the problems that they've had is that 4-minute back, that closer guy.
Yeah.
Is that something that you agree with and that they need to address?
Yeah, so we were told in August they were looking at a back with size, so their 53-man roster. They considered some of the veterans were out there, but a lot of them had injury problems. So what they did is they took someone younger. They claimed Trey Sermon off waivers for the Niners, who was a third-round pick. It was certainly a disappointment for them. And sometimes he doesn't run with enough power. The knock on him, despite his size, 225, you like to see him run with more power, not be so finesse. But the question will be, if they get a lead in the fourth quarter, is that a time to play him? And yes, it would be, because you can't do that with Gainwell. Boston Scott had done some of that this season, not all of it. He and Sanders kind of had taken that role. And now you look at it, this is a perfect way to evaluate this player, Sermon, in that specific role. It's called the closer, or the 4-minute back. This is a great role for him. And quite frankly, let's not forget, the Niners last year, when they drafted him, most people don't realize this, he was drafted to be their starter. He had a bad training camp last year. They went with Elijah Mitchell, who took the job, was a 6-rounder, and they stuck with Mitchell, and he was really good as a rookie.
Let's get to this Jacksonville team and kind of get your thoughts on how good this team is. And is this a good spot for them? They hadn't won for 17 games in a row on the road. They did that last week. They dominated in the game. Now they got to travel on the road again. How good's this team, and can they give Philadelphia a game in this spot?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, they have one of the best young rosters in the National Football League. Some veterans, but mostly 3, 4, 5 years in at the most. A couple guys older, like Marvin Jones, Brandon Sheriff, Ken Robinson is their left tackle. But they've got a great mixture of young veterans and younger players, and they've been very well coached. There are some people around the league really question the staff that Doug put together, but I know they're only 2-1. Let's not put them in the playoffs yet. Remember, the game they did lose, they lost to Washington. They had a brief lead. So in week 1, that game was on the road. And the key here is, though the running game isn't great, James Robinson has recovered very nicely from his torn Achilles. He's their lead back. Etienne's their changeup, somewhat of a third down back. Travis Etienne has kind of struggled to establish a role there. They're trying to figure it out with him. The issue that they have, we're told, though, their pass protection. See, what's happening here is they're shortening up the drops, Mike, for Trevor Lawrence. And that really helps him not turn it over, not get in harm's way, and it helps their line, which is not great. It makes their line better than it really is. It's really not that good, we're told. It's just he's getting the ball out. This is coaching. This is the way you're doing it. This is the way really Washington should do with Carson Wentz, because that would help him, as you saw too deep of drops, and he got sacked too much. So that helps to get the pass rush. So that's what's been happening there. And their defense is really athletic, really long and athletic, and mostly pretty young. And they've played very well. They shut out the Colts. I know the Colts were without 2 of their starting receivers. They crushed the Chargers last week. I get that the quarterback, Herbert, was coming back from a significant injury, but still, they've outscored their opponents 62-10 the last 2 weeks. So they're playing good football. This should be, I know that weather games sometimes are like crazy. Things happen which you don't expect, but in a normal weather game, I think this could be a fairly tight game. I would pick the Eagles no matter what, because they're the better team, but I think they're absolutely capable of giving the Eagles a good game here.
Yeah, I guess the big storyline in this game has now just turned into Avonte Maddox being out for the game, because, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm looking at the Wednesday injury report that I got emailed. He was not on the Wednesday.
Yeah.
So this must have been something that happened during the week here, right?
Yes, it did. But I don't know if it was an ankle, wasn't it? Was it an ankle?
Yes, he is out with an ankle.
Yeah, my understanding was he tweaked it. They were hoping the swelling would go down. I guess it didn't, because he didn't work today. Because if he would have worked, he would have played. So he didn't work today. That's a bad sign. Hopefully this doesn't linger. They need him. He's super important to what they do. One of the top slot corners in the league. And they're not Josiah Scott, to me, Mike, would be a better choice than McPherson. I just think he's better for that. That's why the Jaguars drafted him, I'm told, 2 years ago. And, I know he played some safety in training camp for the Eagles. He was sort of transferring to safety as a backup safety. But remember, they addressed the position. So they'll be okay. But it just, you'd rather have that. And hopefully for their sake, both he and Boston Scott will be back next week when they travel to Arizona.
All right, Adam Caplan, of course, Football at 4 here on the Sports Bash Live, Eagles and Jacksonville. Real quick from you, obviously, you've been around this team for a while. The emotion of Doug coming back and just what do you think the atmosphere is going to be like? I'm not suggesting booze. I'm just saying a weird energy of, this Eagles fan base is flying high about their team, and then you got this guy who's won your only Super Bowl coming in. There's a weird dynamic there.
It is, because it was 10 years ago. Different story. I can't remember when Andy came back with Kansas City. I know the Chiefs beat them here, but this is kind of weird. Yeah, as you said, Mike, it's the only Super Bowl win. So, but he's really liked here. He'll get cheered. I expected heavy cheers, maybe a smattering of boos, because that's life. But it's going to be fun, and I just wish the weather would hold up, Mike. I doubt it based on the latest weather pattern. These hurricane rains, they sweep through for 2 days, and then it leaves. And by midweek, I think next week it's supposed to be really nice. But, man, I just wish the weather would be better. Because I'd like to see what would happen. Because Jaguars, man, are a fun football team. Because they're in a very small media market, no one really knows them naturally.
Yeah.
But, man, they've been playing really well.
It's funny you say that, Adam, because earlier this week I was talking to John McMullen, and I had said, you think Doug is appreciative of the fact that he only has to talk to 3 people a day as opposed to 33?
Yeah, I know. That's the way it is. They're very small. One paper, Times Union, 1010XXL I've been on many times over the years. That's one sports station. I know John Osher, who writes for the website. He actually used to work for a company I owned years ago. That's it. And Brian Sexton does a lot of their website stuff. He used to be the radio announcer. They got a very small media contingent, probably the smallest in the country. And not that I don't, because we have our pregame show, I'm unable to get to the games, but I wonder how many people from the press corps from Jacksonville are coming. Maybe 5. And look, they had the Hurricanes too, so people had to evacuate. Though, from what I understand, today was actually much better. The winds were subdued. And thank God, because obviously that area got hit, particularly Fort Myers, Florida.
Yeah. All right, Adam Caplan, don't forget the pregame show, Inside the Birds, pre and post. They'll have it before and after Eagles and Jaguars, and then Football at 4 next week. Get you reaction to the Eagles and Jags, and then Adam will be back on Friday to get you ready for Eagles and Cardinals right here on Football at 4 on the Sports Bash. Good times, Adam. See you next week.
Sounds good.
All right, Adam Caplan here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN Football at 4 on the Sports Bash. And when we come back, we got the outside view. We're going to take a look at the Jacksonville Jaguars with a guy who played for both the Eagles and the Jaguars, Clay Harbor, the former Eagle and Jaguars tight end. Played for the Bears, too, I believe. He snuck a stint in Chicago in there. He'll be joining us coming up at 4:25 today on the Sports Bash. Hey, congratulations. Our latest qualifier, Jeff in Summers Point. Jeff now has a shot to win Club Box Eagles tickets for their game against the Commanders. But Clay Harbor is going to join us coming up on the other side from Believe in the Jags. He's the host of Believe in the Jags on the Believe Network, former Eagles and Jaguars tight end. He tweeted something last night that was very interesting, and he has been very active on social media regarding the Jaguars and the Eagles and this game. We're going to find out his thoughts about this matchup in our outside view coming up next here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, and streaming live video on the BFA Sports YouTube channel.
We live in a community that cares. We make sure everyone eats, everyone plays, everyone stays warm, and everyone is protected. We support our youth in organizations that teach the value of community and self-worth. We make strides against breast cancer every day. Together, in this community, we make a difference. RK Chevrolet, RK Kia, and RK Subaru, proudly serving our community since 1982.
The Claridge is the best destination to stay and play on the boardwalk in Atlantic City. Just steps away from the ocean, the Claridge has it all. The city's ultimate rooftop bar, wonderful restaurants, classic guest rooms with ultra-high-speed Wi-Fi, and 100,000 square feet of banquet and convention space for events and the wedding of your dreams. Book at Claridge.com for the best rates and find the best package for your stay. Discover all the Claridge has to offer.
When it comes to taking care of your physical wellness, maintaining good health of your bones and muscles, you want a team of doctors you can trust and who hold themselves to the highest standards. At Premier Orthopedic Associates, we believe that you should live life at your best. Our team of non-operative and operative orthopedic specialists strive for the highest standards, exceptional outcomes, and happiest patients. Come and experience the Premier difference.
All right, 422, Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. Football at 4 was brought to you by EMT Solar Roofing. See if your home qualifies for a free roof with solar installation. No commitments, no hidden fees. Go to ESPNsolar.com to see if you qualify. All right, let's get the outside view. Former Eagles, former Jags, even played for the Bears in there. Clay Harbor set to join us right now on the Sports Bash Live 97.3 ESPN. He's host of Believe in the Jaguars on the Believe Network, and we'll get some more insight on this fun bunch, 2-1 Jaguars here. Clay, what's up, man?
What's up? I appreciate you guys having me on, Mike. Looking forward to talking about my two teams, the Jaguars and the Eagles, 3 years with each. So I know both of them. I was at both camps this summer. A lot to talk about.
Yeah, and by the way, before we saw you backstage, you had a Jaguars jersey on. You pulled that off. So were you leaning
I was
Jags?
going to save it. I was going to save it for my pick at the end. When I pick the team that I think's going to win, which I haven't done yet, I'm going to put on the jersey, but you may have just spoiled it.
Well, you might have both jerseys hanging around. We don't know. Maybe you were just trying them both on. So, Clay, give us a little insight. You said you know both these teams well. Obviously, you played in Philly. You played in Jacksonville. But why is this Jags team different than the one you were around the last couple of years?
Two words. Doug Peterson. He's came in. He's brought a great culture with him. He's brought a great staff with him. The Urban Meyer regime is a long afterthought, and it was really a toxic coach, and he really restricted the growth of a lot of these players. And the main player that he restricted and didn't give a good opportunity to show what he could do was Trevor Lawrence. Doug came in, he put a great system around Trevor Lawrence. He put some great coaches around Trevor Lawrence and put Trevor Lawrence in a good offense, and the rest Trevor's doing it and showing us why he was the number one pick and one of the most highly touted draft picks coming out since Peyton Manning, since Andrew Luck, and he's really living up to those expectations.
Yeah, I was going to say, he had the hype. Do you see why he had the hype? Because last year you might be saying, this guy had all this hype. Was the coach that toxic that it was even hard to see how talented this guy was?
You would see the glimpses and the flashes, but you really didn't see the Trevor Lawrence that you thought you were getting. Obviously, he was only 21 last year. Heck, he's only 22 years old right now. Most 22-year-olds are living in their mom's basement and doing nothing with their lives at this point. This guy's a starting quarterback in the NFL. But this year, you've really seen the things that you thought he could do coming out of college at Clemson. Now, obviously, you got ETN back. You get Christian Kirk around him, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, and you get a better offensive line there with a better coach, better offensive coordinator, Doug Peterson. But you're really seeing the talent and the skill level that this guy has, and it's really impressive.
Yeah, Clay Harbor's our guest. Jacksonville's here in Philly. They didn't win for 17 straight road games. Then they went out to L.A. last week and put it on. A very good Chargers team. But what are the concerns of playing back-to-back road games for a team that hasn't won a lot on the road and kind of building that culture? Is this kind of that – a big challenge for them to win back-to-back. You know what it's like to try to win back-to-back road NFL games. For a team that hasn't had a lot of success on the road, is this a huge challenge for them?
Well, it's a huge challenge, obviously, because it's on the road. It's been difficult for them to win on the road. It's been difficult for them to win overall. But I think the bigger challenge of being on the road is just this Eagles team. There's literally no weak spots. You try to point to a spot where you think you can – maybe the run game. You see DeAndre Swift had 150 yards that opening week. You look at maybe James Robinson has a good game, but they got some good linebackers. They got good D linemen. There's no holes in this Eagles roster, and if Jonathan Gannon's calling a good game, if Shane Steichen's calling a good game, it's going to be really tough to beat this team. And for me, they're my favorite to win, to win the Super Bowl, to win the NFC this year. They're that good of a team. So as hard as it is to go on the road, I think it's even harder just to play. I don't care if you're playing against the Eagles, on the moon. This team is great, and it's going to be difficult to beat them.
Clay, what is John Gannon's defense doing now that maybe they didn't do before? Are they just more talented? But what is his defense bringing that will challenge Jacksonville this week? Where is there a matchup where maybe there's a big concern for Jacksonville?
For Jacksonville, the defense, I think it's coming down to the receivers, okay? So obviously you've had a lot of success throwing the football. And you have Christian Kirk, who's one of the top receivers, top 10 in the league in receiving yards. He's got 3 touchdowns this year. But he's going to see a guy named Darius Slay this week. And I think Darius Slay is the best cornerback in the National Football League. And across from him, doesn't get much better for you. You got James Bradbury. Bradbury's a heck of a player himself, former Pro Bowl player. So Zay Jones and Christian Kirk are really going to have to see what they're made of here with these two cornerbacks. Can you get open against two of the best? And can Trevor Lawrence make tighter throws, because those guys aren't going to be far behind if these receivers are open. So it's going to be a full service thing. Can Trevor Lawrence make those tighter throws? Can Christian Kirk and Zay Jones get open against these top tier cornerbacks? And I can't wait to see, the answer to that question.
You mentioned James Robinson and his role. I mean, they like to run. They can run it well, but Philly's been kind of interesting against the run this year. Is this a spot, though, that you think that Jacksonville can get some yards on the ground?
Yes, last week, James Robinson had 42 yards after contact. After you first hit this guy, he had some running backs only get 42 yards in a week. This guy's a tough runner, and you got the Thunder and Lightning. Travis Etienne's stats haven't been great this year, but he's looking good. He's looking quick. He's catching the ball great. He's moving. He's changing direction. This guy is going to pop eventually. So this running game, if I'm looking at it from the Eagles' perspective, is the one thing that scares me. These two running backs, you got the Thunder, you got the Lightning. If they get in the roll, Doug Peterson is not afraid to pound the rock if he can. And he's going to test him. He's going to test his defense to see if they can run the football against him. Then if they can, then you'll see a little bit of a pop here with Lawrence, but they're going to keep running it with James Robinson.
One area that the Eagles always seem games come down to them for them a lot is the offensive line and the defensive line. The Eagles they don't like to blitz. They don't want to have to blitz. What does this Jacksonville's offensive line look like? Is this a line that you think that will the Eagles need to blitz to get pressure, or is that a spot where Philly can get pressure without sending more pressure from having to blitz?
Honestly, I don't think Philly's going to be able to get much pressure, and it's not for the reason that you think. Obviously, this line has gotten better. Juwan Taylor's playing great at right tackle. He was one of my worries coming into the season as a Jaguars fan. But Cam Robinson's looking good. Ben Barch has stepped up, and Brandon Sheriff is, old Brandon Sheriff, Pro Bowl caliber player. Luke Fortner at center isn't playing great. He's got to pick it up. He's not doing a great job, but I think he can hold up. But here's the thing for the Eagles. Trevor Lawrence is top 4 in the league in time to throw the ball. So he's getting the ball. He's behind. He's number 3. He's behind Tom Brady and Kyler Murray. Besides that, no quarterback in the NFL is better at getting the ball out than Trevor Lawrence. Doug Peterson has a great mix of quick game. He's a great mix of 3-step, 5-step, and 7-step drops. But Trevor Lawrence is getting the ball out quick, and he hasn't allowed a sack. He hasn't been sacked in 2 weeks. This guy hasn't been getting pressured because he's so good at getting the ball out quick. So if Brandon Graham's going to have another big game, 2.5 sacks, if Hassan Reddick's going to get to the quarterback, if you want to see Jordan Davis get some pressure up the middle, they're going to have to do it quick because this guy is getting the ball out.
Clay Harbor's our guest, former Eagle, former Jacksonville Jaguar, outside view. You play tight end. I'm interested to see what Jacksonville does with Goddard because I think that's a matchup that should be pretty interesting.
Absolutely. But, honestly, Mike, I think that one of the guys I've been most impressed with, I don't know if you've heard of him out there in Philly, if he's a well-known name now, but he will be. And his name is Devin Lloyd. This guy runs a 4.4 40. He jumps 40 inches. He's strong. He's fast. He's quick. He's explosive. He can guard tight ends. He can blitz. He can tackle the running back. This guy can do everything. Obviously, you're going up against Dallas Goedert, who I've said all training camp, he's a top 5 tight end in the NFL. You just heard Tony Gonzalez say he's the best tight end in the league. The reason I think Goddard is that good, obviously he's great at catching the football and running routes, but he's also a blocker. And me as an old school tight end, I want to see a guy that's not afraid to mix it up and block. If you can't put your face and hands in there and block somebody, you don't deserve to be a tight end. And Dallas Goedert does that. But I think that matchup is interesting. But I think Devin Lloyd can guard a tight end. Gerald Everett last week didn't get much off him. He was carrying him down the seam. He had 3 pass breakups. This guy was all over the field. He is great in coverage, and that's going to be a difficult matchup for Goddard too.
Well, obviously, if Goddard has a rough day at the office, Jacksonville's got to figure out who to handle A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. Are they equipped on the corners to match up there? How do you what kind of defense do they play in the secondary, and do they have the depth and the talent to match up? And by the way, don't forget Quez Watkins, who has had a couple deep shots down the seam.
So Shaq Griffin and Tyson Campbell are both solid cornerbacks. They're not great. They're not terrible. They're not bad. They're in the middle of the road. I like Tyson Campbell, a little more Shaq Griffin. They're both good, solid cornerbacks. But the problem with me with the Jaguars is Rayshawn Jenkins scares me. Andre Sisco's a middle-of-the-road safety. He's pretty good in coverage, but Rayshawn Jenkins is lacking. I think that's a place to where the Eagles can take some shots, and whoever he has to guard is going to have a mismatch. If it's Devontae, if it's Goddard, if it's A.J. Brown, even if it's Quez, I think Rayshawn Jenkins, they can take advantage of him, the deep ball. That deep pass, if there was one Achilles heel so far this season for the Jaguars, it's given up an occasional deep pass. And that's because Rayshawn Jenkins is not good. He's graded at Pro Football Focus in the bottom 5 of all safeties graded. He's not doing a good job right now, and it worries me because I don't think he'll be able to keep up with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert.
This is a fun one. And, Clay, you probably been in a spot, when either in Chicago or Jacksonville or Philadelphia, where you played with a coach or with a player who had been on another team. Doug, obviously, here in Philly, knows this team, but they got a lot of guys on that coaching staff that came from Philly with Doug. How does that impact a game? Not, especially this type of game where there's so much familiarity between the coaching staff and the former team. Is that something that is a factor for the players and the prep?
Well, these guys want this game, right? Doug Peterson, he's saying all the right things. He loves his city. It's just another game. He's keeping it. Doug Peterson wants to win this game. Doug Peterson got fired by Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman. He got fired by the Philadelphia Eagles because they didn't think he was good enough to win games and bring him back to another Super Bowl. You don't think that he's thinking about that? It's like when your girlfriend breaks up with you. Next time you see her, you want to be with a beautiful woman. His beautiful woman is the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's bringing her in. He's showing her off. He wants to show them that he can do it without him, that he is a good coach, and he can bring a team to a Super Bowl. And right now, he's doing a great job turning around the Jacksonville Jaguars. So Doug Peterson is definitely going to be interested, a little more interested in this game than the rest of them. I don't care what you say. This guy got fired from this team. He had a history here, won a Super Bowl here. He wants to prove and show them that they made a mistake.
Clay Harbor, now before we get your pick, and we'll let you get that out there, you mentioned a beautiful woman. I'd be remiss because I do tell the listeners I watch The Bachelorette and The Bachelor series all the time. You were a contestant on The Bachelorette one time. So am I in the wrong for watching these programs? Now, keep in mind, my beautiful girlfriend watches Phillies every night with me, Sixers every night with me, football Mondays and Thursdays. I got to fit a show in for her. Am I off by watching this program? You were also on Bachelor in Paradise, I believe, which I'd like to hear some behind the scenes on that show. But am I off? Am I bad on this? Should I not be telling the listeners this?
Mike, you know good and well you're not watching it for your girlfriend. You're watching it because you want to watch it. You like it. It's your guilty pleasure. It's an interesting show, but it's a nice thing to do. Honestly, if you want to turn your brain off for an hour, just decompress and watch some
The finale was 3 hours. I had to sit through 3 hours of that finale.
Yeah, absolutely. If you just want to decompress, turn your brain off, make fun of some people, then it's a good show to watch. Honestly, it's interesting. It was a cool part of my life. I made some cool friends. I can tell some funny stories about it. And, definitely love Bachelor Nation, man. They're one of a kind. We call the fans of Bachelor World Bachelor Nation. They're
right.
They're an interesting group of people. But, this paradise, honestly, it's not – you sit on the beach, you drink margaritas, you have quesadillas, and you try to date women, man. Honestly, it is what you see. There's really not much behind the scenes. There's no air conditioning. You're sweating the whole time. The one thing I will say, you do interviews, right? Say I'm wearing this shirt and I'm talking about today. We 10 weeks down the road, and you want me to come back and say something about this game. They'll have me come back and change into my outfit I was wearing the first day. So now I'll talk to you like we're talking about the Jaguars-Eagles and say, hey, I knew all along the Jaguars were going to upset the Eagles so they call those ITMs. So the interviews, they'll manipulate every storyline by having people bring their clothes, keep their outfit. If they need them to change something, they'll have them come back and say something else in the moment.
All right. Well, I like that little insight information. Obviously, Clay Harbor. Now, you and I actually used to do the show together at Chickies and Pete's and EHT. I was actually there yesterday, and the guy out of nowhere, he said, "Hey, I remember you guys doing the show here. We're there every Thursday, but we did the show together a few times there. It had to be 08, 07, somewhere in that range."
Yep.
You remember those Philly days, man?
Yeah, we'd come over there. We'd go to Chicken and Pete's. We'd talk some Eagles. They have some great lobster cheesesteaks over there. I don't care. Those lobster cheesesteaks and those crab fries, those things are phenomenal.
Phenomenal. Yesterday, we were back. Next Thursday, we'll be back. Clay, you said you're at Eagles camp, right? When you were there, did you see a team that you thought was going to be what we're seeing right now?
Absolutely. I got the receipts. I'll go back in my Twitter and I'll pull them up. I got the receipts for you. I was saying this Eagles team is going to win the division. This is the best team in the division. I didn't know they were going to be this good, but with A. Brown and Jalen Hurts, I go out there and I go, oh, the Eagles got 2 new tight ends. Who are these guys? Oh, wait, that's Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. These guys are that big? These guys aren't tight ends, a wide receiver and a quarterback. Oh, these guys are big. They're strong. They're fast. Jalen Hurts, you could just see how confident he was making his reads, just in camp, throwing the ball to Hurt, to A.J. Brown, throwing it to Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, Dallas Goedert, and I go, okay, this team's trouble. Then you see how big Jordan Davis is. I go, is this the guy from the Green Mile right here? Like, this is massive. This is unbelievable. This guy's a monster. So it was a lot of fun, and I did see that team, and obviously guys like TJ Edwards. I was always high on TJ, but he is playing so good. One of my tweets, wow, TJ Edwards is playing at a high level. Miles Sanders, seeing him in person. Oh, man, this guy's bigger than I thought. This guy's quick, fast, explosive. I thought he was a little bit smaller than this. And that's when I knew, because I went to the Bears and the Jaguar camp, and I go, okay, this team's for real. Going from the Bears to the Eagles, I go, Hurts is miles and miles better than Fields, and it shows.
Well, you tweeted also, if Jacksonville beats Philadelphia, the Jags will be the best team in your book. Miami lost last night. Philadelphia obviously plays Jacksonville on Sunday. So will Jacksonville be the best team in the NFL 425 when that game is over?
Okay, if they win, I'm not saying this is my pick, but if they win, people are giving me grief for this. In my opinion, the Eagles are the team in the league right now. If you beat the best, you are the best. That's the way I see it. If you go into Philadelphia in the link and come out with a W and beat the Philadelphia Eagles with Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, A.J. Brown, Brandon Graham, Hassan Reddick, T.J. Edwards, Darius Slay, James Bradbury, big offensive line, you're the best. And you're coming off of a 24-0 win over the Colts, who just beat the Chiefs, I might add, a 38-10 win against the Chargers, Justin Herbert, and now you beat the Philadelphia Eagles? Yes, you're the best team in the league if you win that game. But if you want the pick, I got it for you right here. This is the jersey.
Here we go. If you're watching on the stream, BFA live stream,
Sorry,
he's got
Eagles are going to win this one. It's going to be a close game. 27-24. Philadelphia Eagles win. Fly, Eagles, fly. EAGLES, Eagles.
Yeah, who needs Lee Corso? We got Clay Harbor pulling out the jersey right there. He's got the old 82 Philadelphia Eagles midnight green. He likes the Eagles to win. Close one, fun one, and we appreciate Clay Harbor. Believe in the Jags. Check him out over there. And obviously, we have the game right here on 97.3 ESPN. The coverage at noon. Merrill Reese and Mike Quick have the call at 1 o'clock. Clay Harbor, everybody. Thank you, Clay.
Appreciate it, Mike.
All right, there's Clay Harbor, former Eagle tight end, former Jacksonville tight end. He likes Philadelphia 27-24 to beat Philadelphia. I like he had both jerseys going. He looked like a high school player picking which college he was going to go to. He was kind of, if you're watching on the BFA live stream, he was kind of like grabbing for the Jacksonville jersey. Then he went to the Eagles jersey. Then he went back, and then he finally pulled up that Philadelphia 82. You like the Eagles to win the game. That's Clay Harbor, former Eagle and Jaguar tight end. He does host Believe in the Jag, so he's a little bit more slant to Jacksonville right now than he is Philadelphia. But I love his insight from when he went to camp down in Philly, or up in Philly, I guess you could say, from where we are, earlier this year. And he said, oh, yeah, I saw a team that just looked big, strong, fast. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Pete Thompson at 5 o'clock today, we're going to announce the winner for the $100 gift card and overnight stay to Ocean Casino Resort. Go to our website, 973ESPN.com. You have a couple minutes left to enter. It's time for the Caesars Sportsbook Report. First things first, your bet with Caesars Sportsbook. It's on Caesar. That first bet up to $1,250. Download the app, use my promo code RADIOFULL, and then place your first bet. If you win, congrats. If not, you get your stake back as a free bet. That's right. You could bet $1,250, lose, and they'll give it right back to you. It's very nice of them. It's open to new users in Jersey who are 21 or older. If your qualifying bet loses, your bet amount is returned as a credit. You must use within 14 days. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. More Sports Bash coming up.
We're here at the brand new RK Service Center. Got to be super excited about all the things that are going on here at RK.
We are. We're super excited. We've been waiting this for a long time. We're very proud of this facility. We are hiring new technicians, so we're offering a $1,500 sign-on bonus. You can check with our managers in terms of the details on that. But along with that, we offer healthcare, dental, eye, 401k with a match, and on it goes.
No better place to look than right here at RK Auto Group.
RKAutogroup.com, but individually for each manufacturer would be myrkchevy.com, myrkkia.com, and myrksubaru.com.
We live in a community that cares. We make sure everyone eats, everyone plays, everyone stays warm, and everyone is protected. We support our youth in organizations that teach the value of community and self-worth. We make strides against breast cancer every day. Together, in this community, we make a difference. RK Chevrolet, RK Kia, and RK Subaru, proudly serving our community since 1982.
When it comes to taking care of your physical wellness, maintaining good health of your bones and muscles, you want a team of doctors you can trust and who hold themselves to the highest standards. At Premier Orthopedic Associates, we believe that you should live life at your best. Our team of non-operative and operative orthopedic specialists strive for the highest standards, exceptional outcomes, and happiest patients. Come and experience the Premier difference.
449 Sports Bash Live. Hey, can you grab the ambient off the printer? I'm Mike Gill. Pete Thompson at 5 today. Casey Joyner has the day off. He's down in Florida. We're thinking about Casey. And, he's down in a spot, no power. Everything seems to be okay. He just asked if he could, kind of have the day with no power, and we certainly respect that. Casey Joyner, One Thought every game. It's one of our favorite features on the show, but he'll have this week off. Hopefully he'll be back on Monday, ready to give us one thought on every game, and that's coming up at 5 o'clock with the PT here on a Happy Hour Friday here on the Sports Bash. We got a lot of games that we've been talking about this week. The injury report, we just told you, kind of breaking news when Adam Caplan was on with us, which was Avonte Maddox is out for the game. I mean, he is out for the game, and that's a little bit of a surprise. The injury must have happened during practice. He was not on the Wednesday injury report, but I think that losing Maddox is big in this game. Zach McPherson and maybe Josiah Scott would be the guys who kind of take his spot there. But does Jacksonville go right after them in the slot? Do they try to find ways? Now, Zay Jones is also on the injury list for Jacksonville. He is listed as questionable. But does Jacksonville try to get Marvin Jones going? Does Jacksonville try? Clay Harbor, I thought, really broke down a pretty interesting point, is how fast Trevor Lawrence gets the ball out of your hand. Well, you get to a spot where you can get your guy in the slot lined up and just bubble screen to him, get the tight end involved. Not having Avonte Maddox, who is a physical, tough corner. That's another thing. He's a good tackler. That's a spot that Philadelphia, underrated loss for the defense.
One of the things the Eagles did last week, I want to bring up to you real quick here, Mike, is that when you're watching the game last week, there were a lot of times that you had Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, you had T.J. Edwards, and Avonte Maddox all playing zones. And what would happen is that when the running backs and tight ends were cutting across formation, they would hand the guy off to each guy, and Carson Wentz kept getting confused of who was covering who, and he couldn't figure out guys were open. One reason why he got sacked so many times without Maddox. Do you think they can still run that kind of defense where they just do this handoff thing to kind of confuse Trevor Lawrence?
It's a good question because I think the Eagles, they didn't have to blitz a lot. And the funny part is the one guy they use to blitz a lot from the secondary is Maddox.
Yep.
So if they need to get pressure, and what did Clay Harbor just talk about? He doesn't think the Eagles are going to be able to get pressure with the 4 because Lawrence gets the ball out so fast. Okay, so I'm not going to have to blitz. Who's the guy they call on in that moment? Who's the guy they say, all right, you're going to come off the corner if it's not Avonte Maddox? Who do they go with? And the other guy, Evan Ingram. The Eagles have had some problems with Ingram in the past when he was with the Giants. He has had some good games against him. He had the drop in the one game, but he's an athletic tight end. So I think losing Maddox in this particular matchup, because I think on the outside the Eagles are good enough. Bradbury against Kirk or Slay against Kirk, and then Zay Jones matched up with Slay or Bradbury. I think you're okay there, but I think there's a little drop-off in a couple areas. Tackling, and then coverage, obviously. But I think the physical nature that Maddox brings to the Eagles' defense in the slot as a tackler is going to be noticed here. And that means one guy to keep an eye on now that you may have thought a little differently is Travis Etienne, who is a guy who can catch the ball out of the backfield. And now they might say, oh, man, they're down Avonte Maddox. Let's try to get him out of the backfield, catching some screens, catching some flats, that kind of stuff.
Are you comfortable enough with maybe Gardner-Johnson being the slot corner for a game and maybe having somebody else maybe play safety with Epps? Or do you think about, maybe using maybe Kazir White and T.J. Edwards more on the field together?
That's interesting, but we've talked a lot about Edwards this week, which is he has not given him any reason to come off the field.
He's the primary dime linebacker.
There's no question. Dean can't get on the field.
Correct.
So, no, I think, the Eagles line, and it's going to be interesting, just Mike Caldwell, who was with the Eagles, is he going to look at these linebackers as kind of, and Kaiser White wasn't here, so I don't know.
Kaiser White wasn't here. That's definitely part of it.
And Edwards is such a different player, but it's like the Hurts thing. Do they look at Hurts as the player he was when they were there? do they look at Edwards as the player he was when they were there, or do they recognize that those guys have evolved as players?
I mean, is Zach McPherson a guy who maybe gets playing time this Sunday?
Oh, I think Adam said it. It's either him or Josiah Scott. They're the two options in the slot there. I think I've seen McPherson. He's 27. I've seen him on the field. You can look at the snap counts. Maybe I'm wrong. But I just feel from my watching of the games and then watching the all-22 stuff afterwards that – and I'm not counting snaps, but you can go to places and find them.
Yeah.
I have seen 27 on the field more than I have seen Josiah Scott, and 27 is McPherson. So, 609-573-3776, 609-573-3776. I need caller number 7 right now. You are entered in for a chance to win Eagles club box seats for their game against the Commanders on Monday Night Football at the Link. 609-573-3776. Caller number 7 right now. You want to sit in club box seats for Monday Night Football? Caller 7, your shot is now. 609-573-3776. We'll be live at Garden State Beer Company on Friday, October 28th. You must be present to win, and one lucky winner is getting club box seats for Monday Night Football. Carson Wentz back in Philly. I think you want to be there. Be caller 7 right now.
The Claridge Hotel has been around for a number of years. Here at Park Place in the world-famous Atlantic City Boardwalk, just steps away from the beach. So we've had a number of people come through our doors, each with their own style and taste, which is why they chose the Claridge to take their visit to new heights. Book your getaway today at claridge.com.
We live in a community that cares. We make sure everyone eats, everyone plays, everyone stays warm, and everyone is protected. We support our youth in organizations that teach the value of community and self-worth. We make strides against breast cancer every day. Together, in this community, we make a difference. RK Chevrolet, RK Kia, and RK Subaru, proudly serving our community since 1982.
The Claridge is the best destination to stay and play on the boardwalk in Atlantic City. Just steps away from the ocean, the Claridge has it all. The city's ultimate rooftop bar, wonderful restaurants, classic guest rooms with ultra-high-speed Wi-Fi, and 100,000 square feet of banquet and convention space for events and the wedding of your dreams. Book at Claridge.com for the best rates and find the best package for your stay. Discover all the Claridge has to offer.
5 o'clock hour on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. We're taking you through the final hour. If you're watching the show on the BFA live stream YouTube channel, we've got plenty of Eagles, NFL, Jeff Kerr, NFC East at 5:30 tonight. It is a happy hour Friday. PT is here. We'll get some thoughts. The Phillies won Game 1, by the way. We'll see how much that has changed the perception as the magic number, PT, drops down to 5. The Brewers lost on that grand slam last night. The Marlins with a grand slam in the 8th last night to help the Phillies out. And now today the Phillies get a win against the Nats in game number 1. The magic number drops to 5, and if they win tonight, it would drop down to 4. So, do we feel differently today than when we walked out of Chickies and Pete's yesterday?
Well, thank you, Marlins. I did because I had lunch with you. You talked about that tweet that the Marlins sent out. Like it would have been. They said, "Did we just become friends?" It would have been more stepbrothers ask if they said, "Did we just become best friends?" But I get where they're going with that. I like the humor, and thank you, Marlins. Who would have thought we would be thanking the Marlins? I love my guy Boop, and he sent something out today. Do you understand, Mike Gill, that the Phillies are now 14-2 against the Nationals? Their most season wins against any opponent, 15-3 against the Nationals, Expos, and Mets over their course of the career. And you could win a trivia question if you said, who was the Phillies' highest winning percentage against one team in a season? Nobody would get the team, would you?
What, the Nationals, I would imagine.
It's actually the 1962 Houston Colts /45s, 17-1. And that's got to be the year that Houston joined, right?
Well, this Nationals team, they have beaten up on. This is one of the teams, when you talk about why the Phillies are where they are, they're here because they have beaten up on the Nationals, and they're here because they haven't been able to beat the Cubs.
Yeah, and I can't believe they can't beat the Cubs. I mean, you know that I heard from that Dean Wysocki today, and when I answered the phone and said, hello, he said, go Cubs, go, go Cubs, go, and I'm like, shut up.
Well, it's very disheartening when you play teams that are out of the race and they step up. But look, it happens all over the place. Look at the Brewers. They last night had a chance to win the game, take the lead in the wild card standings, and they couldn't beat the Marlins. So it's not only your team, but I know nobody wants to hear that. Both these teams are kind of fumbling down the stretch, no question about it. But I guess, the question is, we were talking about this earlier, this is a huge weekend, and you got the Eagles game going on. But, man, if you really want the Eagles to make the Phillies to make the playoff, this weekend is huge with this Nationals team because you could really possibly, make the math very difficult.
Yeah, very much so. And, I mean, look, I just want them to make the playoffs. I want them to get in. Do they get in ugly? I don't care. Just get in. Just find a way to get in. And the fact that, and Rhys Hoskins, hate him or love him, his 30th home run today. And my guy, who, of course, I've always supported and always been behind, Bailey Falter.
Yeah.
As I know you're laughing because that's not true. I was a little wiffle waffle on old Bailey Falter there, but God, where would they be without Bailey Falter?
Yeah, well, where would they be? I go back to a question that we've asked a bunch about Bailey Falter is, do you have the stones to pitch him in a playoff scenario? I mean, he has shown time and time again that in a big moment, the moment's not too big for him. Now, the Nationals don't have a lineup that is loaded here, but he doesn't seem to be – it doesn't seem that the moment's too big for him.
No, and I mean, he's been incredibly effective. He's been a wonderful surprise. My answer to that would be look at whether or not Thompson has shaken up the lineup, and he hasn't. So, therefore – would he have the cojones to put Falter in to start a playoff game? I don't think so. I think he's going to go with the same people unless something occurs differently, with the rainouts or something like that.
Well, they're going to need
shakes up the rotation.
Let's say, and let's just have a little fun with this because I know the Phillies fans are so negative. I want to be a little positive here. Let's say the Phillies made the playoffs, won the wild card round. If you made the division round, you would need a fourth starter in that round, generally. Like normally, you'll pitch a fourth guy. Would then Falter be that fourth guy?
In my mind, absolutely. I mean, what are you going to do? Go to Gibson, who you have no idea what you're going to get? You're going to go to Syndergaard, who clearly is not Thor. He's more like right? He's just the start of that word. That's all he's got, right? I mean, come on, So, yeah, I think Bailey Falter would be your most ideal candidate for a fourth starter.
If you're watching the show on the BFA Sports live stream, you kind of saw PT almost get out of his chair there.
Well, I had to make the sound correctly. By the way, Clay Harbor, man, that was awesome, dude. I'm having such a great time today listening to the show. Thank you for letting me be a part of it.
Yeah, now Clay Harbor was a contestant in The Bachelorette, and did you hear his answer? Will that now make you check in?
No, absolutely.
He was
not.
actually on.
I didn't hear that point. I just saw what he had. It was holding up the different jerseys.
So he was on The Bachelorette. He was a contestant, and apparently there was a scene in the show. I didn't watch it at the time that he was on it, but I knew that he was a contestant. But there was a scene in the show, I guess, that they played football, and he must have hurt his wrist. I think he broke his wrist and needed surgery to fix the injury and had to leave the show. So he didn't get, cut. He had to leave because of the injury to his wrist.
Wow,
so
I didn't know that.
He did not find love, but he had been on – they have a spin-off show called Bachelor in Paradise, and it's basically all of the people who get cut from the show, and they throw them on this island and say, have a blast.
I mean, in the interest of full disclosure, and I'm nothing if not brutally honest, I think I watched the very first season of something called Love Island on CBS. And
that was on Fox.
Whatever it was on.
No,
and every
Temptation
weekend,
Island?
Maybe it was that. I think I watched
Temptation Island.
And I also watched a Love Island.
Temptation Island. This was on when I was in college.
Right, I remember that one.
Yeah. It was on Fox, and it was basically like you went there with your significant other, and you basically had to had the other significant others. Yeah.
Yes, of the others. No, this Love Island was, you know what? It was the voiceover guy that, and the fact that most people there were way prettier than me and gorgeous and all that too. But my girlfriend kept saying to me, what are you watching this crap for? What are you watching this for? And I just couldn't stop watching. It was absolutely moronic television. And yet I watched. Yeah.
I said it's bad. It's not good television. It's not like something that, it's not like Dahmer.
There you go. But I'm still not watching Dahmer. And I did not watch season 2 of this Love Island, whatever it was. It came back and the bloom was off the rose for me.
All right, PT. Phillies win, by the way. The magic number's down to 5. They'll play again tonight. I think the lineup out?
7:00, I know. And who's starting the next game here if we had Falter in this
Thor!
One? There you go.
Is he going to be Thor or tonight?
He'll probably be You better have somebody else in there.
Nah,
that's funny.
Nah.
I know you love Corey Seidman. He said the Phillies win. The magic number is 5. Who will always love you?
Okay.
The number's 5 will always love you. I knew you'd like that.
Listen, you have to rely on Syndergaard tonight against a bad Nationals team. I'm saying, give me 5, Syndergaard.
Right. And if Falter can get 6, Syndergaard ought to be able to get 5, for God's sakes.
Well, listen, you need this game tonight because you have no idea what's going to happen with the weather moving forward here. You got to get this game. You don't want to be in a situation where you might have to play another doubleheader. What is the schedule coming up? I know they adjusted the schedule a little bit. What is the actual, upcoming, what did they do with the whole thing? Because all the football going on, I knew they were playing a doubleheader today, but what is happening tomorrow? One game?
Right. I think it's one game tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken.
So one game tomorrow and one game Sunday.
Right.
Okay, so they only moved the doubleheader from Saturday and moved it to Sunday. That was the real change in the schedule that they did. But if they don't get the game in tonight, because there is some rain in the forecast tonight, PT.
Yeah, it's definitely coming in. It's starting to drizzle here in Atlantic County. I don't know what it's like down in the D.C. area. I did hear a little bit of the broadcast flipping across, radio dials and things like that, and it was pretty funny. Apparently, that whole area around the ballpark is constantly under construction, too. So, right now, that the broadcasters always take a little bit of a shot anyway, right? Because the booth, you might as well be one step to St. Peter. That broadcast position at Nationals Park, you might as well be you got to duck for the flights from Reagan National, right? You're so high up there. It's awful to begin with. So I thought it was pretty funny that they were complaining a little bit about not only their broadcast position, but the fact that there's nobody there and the rain's coming in and what's going to happen. 7:05 tonight, 1:05 tomorrow, 1:35 on Sunday. Phillies are supposed to go with Syndergaard, Gibson, and then that's the key thing about Sunday. It's Wheeler, and they want to try to stretch Wheeler out and have him be on his regular rest, but we'll see what happens.
Really?
That's what they want to try to do.
Yeah, well, listen, I think if you take a look at this Phillies team down the stretch here, if they don't win this series against the Nationals, they're not making it. They got to win 3 out of 4 or probably all 4.
Tickets starting at $6, by the way, for tomorrow's game in Washington. $9 on Sunday. Must be because it's Wheeler and Corbin.
All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN PT. The news, Avante Maddox is not going to play.
Yeah, man.
Does that change the perception of this game? Or, I mean, it's a 6.5-point spread.
It just gives me some pause. I was listening when you had Adam Caplan on, and that first news came out, and I thought, well, that's not good. I mean, to me, there's a huge drop-off from Avante Maddox to whoever it's going to be. And, I know the other night when Darius Slay in the Vikings game, when he sort of twisted his ankle a little bit and Zach McPherson ran on, Slay waved him off, and the reality is that there is a drop-off. When McPherson's in, it's not the same as big play Slay. And I really haven't seen a lot of Josiah Scott to be able to say that, to pass judgment on his playing ability, other than the fact that he's not Avante Maddox. So therefore, if he was better, he would have been starting, and he's not starting. Therefore, I'm worried. I mean, it all connects the dots. I think it's a big law. I heard you talking before I came on too about ATN and how do they use him. And, look, Doug Peterson, he doesn't miss things. You know what I mean? And the fact that this is now, of course, it has to be on the injury report, and they know for sure that this guy's out. That allows them another weapon and another scheme to design on their side of how do we attack the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think you attack where the weakest point is, and it's going to be whoever's filling in for Avante Maddox.
I agree with that. I definitely think it's something that Doug and this team is going to go after because they know that a Maddox, what he brings, the toughness that he brings, I think you'll see a lot more flats and screens and quick stuff to that spot. And they're going to say, McPherson, we're going to make you make plays. Josiah Scott, if you're on the field, we're going to make you make plays. I definitely think that has changed the complexion of the game a little bit here. Now, on the other side, I thought Clay Harbor brought up an interesting point regarding the Jacksonville defense, and he mentioned, Rashawn Jenkins is a guy that the Eagles can go after. So I think the Eagles will look to take some big shots down the field, and I'm interested to see how they match up with the Eagles wide receivers. I think that's a big problem in the game. But on the flip side, the front seven of Jacksonville can get pressure. So this is going to be an interesting chess match here.
I think very much, and you're hitting on all the points. And I also, while you were talking there, I just wanted to look up what it says on the back of the football card. Zach McPherson is 5'11", 191. Okay, so I mean, he doesn't inspire fear in anybody when he's coming to tackle you. All right, he's a cover guy. He's not a boomer, and he's certainly not a tackler. And that's what worries me when you replace a guy like Avante Maddox is not that much bigger either, but at least he has the leaping ability and the athletic ability. Like that interception he had against the Vikings, he basically outjumped the guy. He went up and got the point of the football to steal it away. As far as your other point about how's the Eagles offensive line going to match up against the Jacksonville defensive line? How are the Eagles wide receivers going to be able to stretch the field and get those home run plays? Or is this a play or a game where we see a lot more of Dallas Goedert and him relying on the underneath stuff? The one thing I will say is this: if the line protects, I'm no longer worried about Jalen Hurts' ability to put the ball in the right spot. Last year, I was worried about that ability. I didn't think he had the accuracy or the ability to put that ball repeatedly in the right spot. I've seen him. He's proven to me through 3 games that he can drop the dime in the basket, that he can drop the apple in the basket, and so I think if that plays there, the home run plays there, he's going to find it and he's going to hit it.
Yeah, I definitely think, well, I don't know 100%, but I definitely think the development of Hurts changes the dynamic here, pretty significantly. If he plays the way he did the first 3 games, I think Jacksonville has a tough day at the offense. I just don't think – I think Jacksonville can do a solid job of taking the run game away. And look, I don't say that much because I think Philadelphia's offensive line is so good. I have a lot of respect for the Eagles' offensive line and their ability to run the ball. I think Jacksonville's pretty active up front, and I definitely think that that's going to be a challenge for them to try to make Philadelphia one-dimensional. Now, the question is, in the past or now and to the future, if you become one-dimensional, can Hurts pass you to victory? I think this is going to be the kind of game where he might have to. I think where the first 3 games, the run-pass balance has been pretty even. I think you're going to see more passes than you are runs in this game.
Right. And you certainly hope you don't see something outrageous like a 63 or 65 passing attempts, because that would indicate a couple things. One, that you're probably behind early and you had to throw the football. And 2, that they made you one-dimensional. I mean, that's football 101, isn't it? Right. You want to try to force a team to be one-dimensional so you can, if you're forcing them, to throw the football and forcing Jalen Hurts to beat you with his arm. That's what Tampa did in the playoffs, and he wasn't able to do it through the first couple of games. I think it's been interesting for you and I to have conversations this week with the people I really trust, the Adam Caplans, the John McMullins, the Sal Pal, and all of them to a man have basically sort of speculated on what look Jacksonville will give, because, the Lions had that thing where, go ahead, Jalen, you try to beat us. And he did. He won that game. I'm sorry, I meant Detroit. He won that Detroit game with his legs. Minnesota, for whatever reason, Ed Donatel chose to go back in that zone, that deep zone, and never changed and never adapted. And then Washington last week, I thought, as has been pointed out to us, brought a little bit of both. So what will Jacksonville's scheme be? And will Hurts be equal to the task? And I think he will. And the weather, too. I heard Adam Caplan talking about the weather. If you got to run the football, then you've basically made the game one-dimensional, and you didn't have to do anything about it. It was the weather that made it one-dimensional.
Well, I thought the one thing that Clay Harbor brought up that is not been talked about a lot is the speed that Lawrence gets the ball out of his hand, the decision-making, how good he is. And look, we saw Lawrence as a guy who just didn't impress us all that much because of the situation he was in. This guy was supposed to be a generational player. You're looking at a much better quarterback, and I think this is the best quarterback the most talented quarterback the Eagles have seen all season. So
I would agree with that.
You faced Jared Goff, you faced Carson Wentz, and Kirk Cousins is a guy who can put up some numbers, but this guy has more talent than all those guys, and this is going to be the biggest challenge in terms of quarterback they will have played this season.
Yeah, younger, faster, reborn, right, if you will. The light bulb is going on. I mean, it's hard for guys to come out of college and be so unbelievable at the college level and then get to the NFL where, it's no joke. And a lot of people can't make that transition, not the least of which that he was on a dumpster fire of a football team with probably a dumpster fire of a coaching staff. He's not only got Doug, he's got Press Taylor down there whispering in his ear and telling him the right things. Heck, one of the guys you mentioned, when Goff had McVay, he was good, right? Allegedly, right? When McVay was whispering the plays into his ear and just run this, bing, bang, boom, and Goff was great. And then all of a sudden you're like, geez, why are the Rams getting rid of Goff? Well, what did they see? That he's not that good. He's not that elite. He's not that wonderful. And they made the switch and got the quarterback they needed to win a Super Bowl. So, I mean, look, I think Trevor Lawrence is markedly improved and easily going to be the most talented they've seen so far.
Yeah, and, I thought Clay brought up the point, obviously, about the two words as to why they are so different. And he said, Doug Peterson. The culture change is significant down there.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, and that's the thing is like Doug comes in with his system and he's unwavering on how he's going to do it. And whether it's the ice cream after the practices or going around and talking to the guys as they're warming up and doing the initial stretch. I mean, obviously he played the quarterback position, so it adds another level of that to, not just being the head coach and not just being an offensive mind and a play caller, but a guy that can go over and whisper something in your QB's ear. I mean, we say it all the time on this show, Mike. There's no more important position on an NFL football team than the quarterback. And if you have a guy that, as the head coach, can make your quarterback right or in a better place, then you're benefiting.
By the way, Scott Lauber tweeted 4 minutes ago, the Game 2 lineup is out, but he says, but will there be a game? Schwarber, Hoskins, Harper, Bohm, Castellanos, Marsh, Segura, Stott, and Stubbs. So no
Did
JT
Stott
Realmuto.
play in game 1, by the way? Probably not, right?
I thought Stott did play in game number 1. But
I'm trying to look here at the box score real quick. I'm just curious, because they were giving Stott a little bit of a chance to regroup or try to refresh or get his head right.
In the first game, yes, Stott played. He went 2 for 4. The only difference in the lineup that I saw was Real Muto is not catching the second game. So they're going to go with Stubbs in game number 2.
If
and
there
Real
is
Muto,
a game.
If there is a game, yes.
Right. Well, get on weather.com and tell me what the weather is.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not down there, but for Scott Lauber to tweet that out, but will there be a game? They're all down there, and he took a picture of the skies, and it looks very dark. So
it's pretty dark here too, buddy, by the way.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess you look at the situation with this weather and what happens if they can't get the game in tonight, and then tomorrow they have a 1 o'clock game. What if they can't get that game in?
Right, and do they just push everybody back? And if you're doing that, are you screwing yourself up for the postseason that you're hoping to get into? You know, do you push Syndergaard and Gibson back a day? Well, then that puts Wheeler. Wheeler was supposed to go against Washington on Monday. Does Wheeler then go against Houston just to get some innings in on? But then that screws up his rest and the regular rest. Or I need a slide rule. And you saw me. What did I try to do something today with math? And even your father laughed at like PT. Don't try to do math.
Yeah, PT.
Yeah, PT.
Probably.
Hey, PT. No math for the PT.
All right, we got so let's get your pick for the Eagles and the Jags. Is obviously this will take center stage on Sunday. You can listen to the game on 97.3 ESPN. Sal Pal gave us his pick earlier. I don't know if you heard that. He had what?
I did not. So don't spoil my pick with his pick because I don't.
No, I was going to say I won't give you his score yet. I want to hear yours first.
All right, I am going with the Eagles to win this football game, but I think for a period of time it will be close. And it may even be something crazy like they're down at the half 17-14 or something like that. But I have the Eagles 28, Jacksonville 17.
28-17, Philadelphia from the PT. That's the pick. Sal Palantonio, Eagles 27, Jacksonville 21. Clay Harbor, by the way, our outside view today, former Eagle and former Jacksonville tight end. He had like 27-24 Eagles. Okay. He thought it was going to be a close game.
So we're all around the same points for the Eagles, but the interesting thing is what will Jacksonville do?
Got anything special for the game, Pete? Going to do anything? Going anywhere?
Well, I'll be working with the old Billy Schwein there, and of course it's a 1 o'clock, so they'll be down at the yesterday's Creekside Tavern, and I'll be back making sure all the microphones work allegedly, and Josh gets to go out and shake hands and kiss babies. Did you and Ryan pick a Survivor pick this week?
Oh, you know what? We forgot to do it. Let's get your pick.
Well, you know that I'm on a streak here.
Keep it going.
All right, I'm picking Green Bay at home against the Patriots.
All right, Green Bay, PT 0-3.
Yeah, what a glutton for punishment I am. I could have skated by and not reminded you, and life would have gone on, and that would have been the end of the game. But instead, I willingly served myself up for the flogging.
Well, good job in remembering there. I'll have to text Ryan to get the pick from him, and I'll get Josh's pick between now and the end of the show. Last week, by the way, I took Seattle. That was a loser as well. That makes me 1-2. Cincinnati was Ryan's pick. That was a win, so he's 2-1. And Josh went with Kansas City, so he is now 2-1. So Ryan and Josh are 2-1 each, and you are 0-3. And I am.
I know my record.
2. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Wear it like a badge of honor.
Might as well. All right. The sports guy, PT.
That's me.
Here on the Sports Bash.
Says it right on the card.
All right, PT.
Take care, buddy.
All right. That's a happy hour Friday here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. And don't forget, we got another qualifier coming up this hour, and I got the name of the winner for the Ocean Casino Resort. We're looking for Tom McDevitt. Tom McDevitt. You got a $100 gift card to Ocean Casino Resort and an overnight stay at the Ocean Casino. Tom McDevitt. Congratulations to him. Thanks to all of our entries, everybody who downloaded the app. Tom McDevitt got the app. He entered to win, and he is going to Ocean Casino overnight stay, a $100 gift card to Ocean Casino Resort. When we come back, we'll get into the NFC East. It's a big weekend because things could really start to shake up. We'll tell you why Coming up next with Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports and Good Morning NSC East. That's next here on the Sports Bash.
We live in a community that cares. We make sure everyone eats, everyone plays, everyone stays warm, and everyone is protected. We support our youth in organizations that teach the value of community and self-worth. We make strides against breast cancer every day. Together, in this community, we make a difference. RK Chevrolet, RK Kia, and RK Subaru, proudly serving our community since 1982.
The Claridge is the best destination to stay and play on the boardwalk in Atlantic City. Just steps away from the ocean, the Claridge has it all. The city's ultimate rooftop bar, wonderful restaurants, classic guest rooms with ultra-high-speed Wi-Fi, and 100,000 square feet of banquet and convention space for events and the wedding of your dreams. Book at Claridge.com for the best rates and find the best package for your stay. Discover all the Claridge has to offer.
When it comes to taking care of your physical wellness, maintaining good health of your bones and muscles, you want a team of doctors you can trust and who hold themselves to the highest standards. At Premier Orthopedic Associates, we believe that you should live life at your best. Our team of non-operative and operative orthopedic specialists strive for the highest standards, exceptional outcomes, and happiest patients. Come and experience the Premier difference.
532 Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, and watch the show live on the BFA live stream on YouTube. I want to tell you about my friends at Ambient Comfort Heating Cooling Professionals. You put off those home improvements during the summer. Now it's football season. The playoffs are here. NBA, NHL. Who has the time? Well, there's one goal that's easy to tackle and important if your family's comfort. Call my friends at Ambient Comfort Heating and Cooling for their $79 fall tune-up special. It's all for new customers for just $79. Ambient Comfort will check and clean your system to make sure it's safe and running at max efficiency. Prepare to get you through the cold months, regardless of who originally installed it. If your bills were too high last winter, they're not going to go down. Maintenance on a new system from Ambient Comfort may help with the rising energy costs. When comfort matters, choose Ambient Comfort. Visit AmbientComfortNJ.com. That's AmbientComfortNJ.com. Or call 609-568-0955 for a $79 heater or furnace tune-up. Tell them Mike Gill sent you. Let's bring in Jeff Kerr from Good Morning NFC East and CBS Sports. He joins us now to take a look inside this weekend's NFC East matchups, some Eagles and some NFL news. What's going on, Jeff?
Not much, Mike. Still kind of reeling from that late game last night. The whole Tua injury thing, it's stuff you don't want to talk about in this league, but unfortunately it does happen from time to time.
Yep, and obviously there is a lot of reaction. I want to, I imagine when I saw the play, I mean, he really got slammed to the ground. I haven't discussed it a lot today. We've been heavy on the Eagles and the Phillies, but I would be pretty surprised if we saw Tua play maybe again this year.
Yeah, I don't know. And, Mike McDaniel pretty much hit the nail on the head today. Just said, yeah, I'm not really worried about that at this point. Probably should have been worried about that 2 days ago, but, you're right. I mean, he got slammed. And at first I thought, oh, wow, it's his back. And then he lands on his head. And yeah, I don't know. I just don't see him playing at the very least for the next month. It just – and, I hate to bring it up, but it just does seem like he's injured a lot. And again, this I think was very preventable. I will say that. And I don't know who to blame, Mike. I honestly think people.
Well, there was a lot of talk about last week that he shouldn't have gone back in the game. And then 4 days later after the situation last week that he was right back out there. I could say this. If nothing happened the week before, I still think that hit was vicious enough that he probably would have been injured.
Well, yeah, I agree. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think maybe the same result happens. But again, the whole – it's just tough for me, honestly. Like, do you go after the NFL? Do you go after the Dolphins? Do you go after – I don't know. I just think everybody's at fault right now, just from what happened. And to me, I mean, if I'm making a judgment call, I would have prevented Tua from himself and said, you know what, we'll manage here. 4 days rest, we'll manage here. We'll make sure you get the proper 2 weeks off, and then we'll reevaluate.
Jeff Kerr, let's go inside NFC East. Good Morning NFC East airs weekday mornings at 7 on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. Let's start with Philly and Jacksonville here. I want to get your thoughts on what's the big matchup in this game that you're looking forward to. Where's there that one matchup that you're really intrigued by?
Well, the Jacksonville Jaguars have number one run defense, Mike, and they're only allowing 55 yards per game. I think they're in the top 10 in yards per carry allowed too, but they haven't allowed a rushing touchdown this year. And the Eagles are number one in rushing touchdowns this year. Oh, and they're number one in the NFL in yards per carry and rushing yards per game since last year, since in the Nick Sirianni era. So I think that's a matchup I'm willing to see. I think Jacksonville will respect the run a bit, but I think they might fall into that trap of, hey, we're not going to let Jalen Hurts beat us on the ground. We're going to force him to throw the football, and we're going to put different coverage schemes at. I think they have the personnel athletically that can catch up to a Dallas Goedert. Like when you got guys like Foye Odekun and Devin Lloyd and guys like that, I think they're a more athletic defense. So this is going to be an interesting challenge for Jalen Hurts this week.
Yeah, and I know that the Eagles on the other side, what challenge on the Jacksonville side of Maddox being out? How much of a factor is that? What challenge did they have with this Jacksonville offense?
Well, Josiah Scott is listed as the backup safety, but I'm wondering, as the backup cornerback, the slot cornerback. So I'm curious to see if they move Chauncey Gardner-Johnson back into the slot where he played with the Saints. If Zach McPherson gets that role. I'm curious to see what Jonathan Gannon does. I think it does make a difference because then all of a sudden, you're going to be down to safety. if you move Chauncey Gardner-Johnson down there. So I think Jacksonville might have an opportunity here to get some passes off downfield. Me personally, I think I would just play Josiah Scott or Zach McPherson there and just keep the safety tandem the way it is.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who they go to in that spot. Yes, we know Maddox is out, but we don't really know who the next guy up in that spot will be. And it might be different if you start the game with somebody as opposed to somebody going in the middle of the week or in the middle of a game. That person might be different. So we'll see. But I do agree with you. I think that might be a spot that Doug Peterson goes after.
Yeah, I agree for sure. And, look, obviously, and look, Jacksonville's in this situation too, right? So Zay Jones may not play. So if Zay Jones doesn't play, do you move Christian Kirk to the outside? No, I don't think you do, because then that weakens two positions. I think you keep Christian Kirk where he is in the slot, and you got to look for other options out there. The thing is, Jacksonville they're deep at receiver, but they don't have the depth like you would think, right? Like you can mention Zay Jones, Marvin Jones, Christian Kirk right off the bat. Who's fourth now that Laviska Shenault's gone? So I don't think I'd move Christian Kirk outside because if Zay Jones doesn't play.
Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports, Good Morning NFC East. We'll get thoughts on that Eagles-Jags game. Let's get some thoughts on the Dallas game against Washington. Washington obviously had big problems last week, and Dallas got to the quarterback at will against the Giants. So where's the matchup in this game that you're zoned in on?
Obviously, Washington's offensive line versus Dallas's defensive line, right? I mean, Washington's allowed the most sacks in the league, and Dallas has the most sacks in the league. So conventional wisdom tells me Dallas is going to get a lot more sacks because of Washington. And look, I still have to check the final injury report for this. I'm actually doing the injury reports for CBSSports.com as we speak, and theirs hasn't, at least to my knowledge, come in yet. But I'm curious to see how Washington responds after giving up 9 to the Eagles last week. They obviously don't have Chase Roullier. That hurts them. I mean, he's done for the rest of the year. Charles Leno and Sam Cosby, they're tackles. I think they are much better than what they showed last week. But again, you got DeMarcus Lawrence, you got Neville Gallimore, you got who was the other one that had a lot of sacks last week? He had a couple last week. I'm losing track of Dallas defensive ends already. But anyway, the point is, Michael Parsons, obviously. But you got guys that are getting to the quarterback, right? And you're watching. You got to worry about stopping Michael Parsons, okay? But the Marcus Lawrence is there too. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Unless Carson Wentz gets rid of the ball quick and they do checkdowns, I think it could be a long day again.
Yeah, I just, last week I thought Dallas would beat the Giants because I thought Parsons would be such a problem. You know what? Parsons wasn't as big of a problem as some of the other guys were. Lawrence and Armstrong was the other guy, Dorrance Armstrong up front. Yeah. This week, I wonder, do you have Parsons try to come from up the middle, in that spot? Because they will move him all over the place. So that is something to keep an eye on in that particular game. I liked what Dallas did game plan-wise on offense was the difference for them was they got Pollard and Elliott a higher priority in their play calling.
They're 12-0 when Tony Pollard runs for 60 yards.
There's a number.
Yeah, so maybe that's it. And look, when Tony Pollard seems to have a big gain, or when they feature him a lot more than they do Ezekiel Elliott, they seem to win games. And I think you and I have both said this. How many times that every single week Tony Pollard's a better running back on this team? So give him the ball.
And, yes, I agree. I wouldn't have him get more touches or just as many touches getting Michael Gallup back. I mean, they're going to get another playmaker back on that offense. So I think it's a tough spot for Washington going to Dallas here. Let's go to the Giants and the Bears. Neither one of these teams can throw the ball or want to throw the ball. This game should be a run fest.
To say the least, and there's no David Montgomery this week either. So, look, I like what Chicago does to win football games. I don't know if it's long-term beneficial for Justin Fields. I don't even know if he could play quarterback, to be honest with you, Mike. But it's hurting him. It's hurting Darnell.
I don't think the Bears think he can.
I don't think they can either. And you know what? Based on the film I watched, the Bears might be on to something. So, I don't know. It's tough. I mean, this group did not draft him. It's like a Daniel Jones situation, right? The quarterbacks he does not want. So, maybe they're looking for a more conventional offense. They don't think Justin Fields is that guy, but they got him. So,
Well, this one's interesting Because, Jeff, if the Giants do win this game, and let's say Dallas wins, you got two teams at 3-1, and Philadelphia then, I mean, this means to stay a game ahead of everyone. That's why this game becomes important, because if they lost, you'd have three teams at 3-1 at the quarter pole.
You know, the NFC East has the best win percentage in football of all the divisions right now.
I did see this, and I don't know that makes them the best division in football, but it definitely shows through a quarter of the season that, hey, all four, if Washington loses, they're going to fall to 1-3, and I think that would be a hole probably too big for them to get out, unless there's a catastrophic injury for one of these teams where they lose their quarterback for the whole season. But you get two teams at 3-1 possibly, if Dallas wins and the Giants win, putting pressure on the Eagles.
Oh, absolutely. And look, even if the Giants are 3-1, I think we all can understand here. Yes, they're 3-1, and you are what your record says you are, but it's not like they've beaten any world beaters here. You know, it's not like the Eagles are down.
But you know what, Jeff? That's the story of the NFL. Who is? What team on the schedule are you going to play where you're like, that's a good team? I mean, there's very few of them. I did my Find 5 Ugly 5 on Wednesday show. I can't find 5 teams to put in my Find 5.
What about in your Ugly 5? I'm sure you can find 5 of them.
You know what? The Ugly 5's not even all like Houston. My Ugly 5 this week was Vegas 5, Carolina 4, Atlanta 3, Seattle 2, and Houston 1.
I haven't put New Orleans in that, believe it or not. I think I put the Saints in the Ugly 5. They look bad. But I don't disagree with that list. I mean,
there you go. If you look at there's my list on the screen. If you're watching on the BFA live stream, those of you who are watching the video, that was my Find 5 and Ugly 5 on Wednesday's show.
Yeah, and look, if the Dolphins don't lose Tua, they could be 4-0.
Right now, of course, I did that on Wednesday before last night's game. So obviously, next week, would imagine I'm going to move the Dolphins probably out of that spot. But they got the benefit of the doubt. They won a game against Buffalo, and that's an impressive win. Although I had the Buffalo Bills, I still had them number one because I still think if they play on a neutral field against Miami, they beat them 9 out of 10 times.
Oh, I agree. By the way, if the Ravens beat the Bills this week, you put the Ravens in that?
Got to. Yeah, I think the Ravens is the one team that maybe you can say I should have put in the top 5, but if they win this week, they would be there. But no, there's not 5 fines and there's not 5 uglies. There's a lot of 5 you're okays.
Yeah, and Eagles play a lot of those you're okays. And
everybody does. That's the point. The Giants aren't beating anybody, but nobody is. There's nobody that has these signature type of wins unless you're beating Buffalo, Kansas City, Philadelphia, I guess right now. I mean, even Miami, I can't really take all that serious yet. Cincinnati, I liked last night. I think that Cincinnati's going to get it together.
I think they are too. I thought the Jets, in a way, I'm going to compare it to baseball. It's like the Phillies playing the Nationals. It's a get-right game. I thought the Jets was a get-right game for them, and I think the Bengals came in with a lot of momentum, the whole white tiger, the white Bengal thing. And look, they put the pedal to the metal on Dolphins in the fourth quarter, and you got to give Joe Burrow a lot of credit. When Joe Burrow does not get sacked, they win football games. Bottom line.
All right, let's go through them real fast. Jeff Kerr, Philadelphia, Jacksonville. Who wins?
I got Eagles 27-23.
27-23. Giants, Bears. Who you got?
Oh, man, this was tough. Ugly versus ugly. You know what? Give me the Giants. I'll go with the Giants.
Giants 3-1. Dallas and Washington.
I'm going to go with Dallas, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. I'm going to go Cowboys 24-21.
Okay, there you go. Inside the NFC East, you can check out Good Morning NFC East Monday at 7 a.m. I'll be on at 7:20 on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. He's your host, Jeff Kerr. Check out all his NFL coverage at CBSSports.com. Jeff, have a good weekend, man.
Yeah, sounds great. By the way, Mike, you'll be my first guest since Wednesday. My last two the snoozer button stayed on the alarm. So
well, you got to text me. You got to text me, man. I'm always in the bullpen.
Well, you know what? That's what I should do. And I'm just, you know what it is? I got talking to Tone because I've had Tone on the last couple of days, and we just kind of kept rolling. But yeah, you're right. I should just text you. I mean, I know you're up. That's the worst part.
All right, Jeff. We'll talk to you Monday.
Sounds great. Thanks, Mike.
Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports, and Good Morning NFC East. He does a great job on that show. Get up weekday mornings at 7 a.m. for that. Mike Gill, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. I'll give my pick for the game, my final thoughts. If you missed our conversations today, you can always go back to the BFA Live Sports YouTube channel and watch the show. Pick out your favorite spots. Sal Pal, Adam Caplan, Clay Harbor, Mike McGarry, all that. Today on the show, it's easy to do. Go check out the BFA Sports Live stream. Download the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app because next week we got another Ocean Casino Resort giveaway. You're going to want the app for that. And Phillies won today. They got another game coming up in about an hour and 15 minutes. So the magic number's 5. It can go down to 4. And if the Brewers lose tonight, it would be 3. More Sports Bash coming up.
We're here at the brand new RK Service Center. Got to be super excited about all the things that are going on here at RK.
We are. We're super excited. We've been waiting this for a long time. We're very proud of this facility. We are hiring new technicians, so we're offering a $1,500 sign-on bonus. You can check with our managers in terms of the details on that. But along with that, we offer healthcare, dental, eye, 401k with a match, and on it goes.
No better place to look than right here at RK Auto Group.
RKAutogroup.com, but individually for each manufacturer would be myrkchevy.com, myrkkia.com, and myrksubaru.com.
When it comes to taking care of your physical wellness, maintaining good health of your bones and muscles, you want a team of doctors you can trust and who hold themselves to the highest standards. At Premier Orthopedic Associates, we believe that you should live life at your best. Our team of non-operative and operative orthopedic specialists strive for the highest standards, exceptional outcomes, and happiest patients. Come and experience the Premier difference.
The Claridge is the best destination to stay and play on the boardwalk in Atlantic City. Just steps away from the ocean, the Claridge has it all. The city's ultimate rooftop bar, wonderful restaurants, classic guest rooms with ultra-high-speed Wi-Fi, and 100,000 square feet of banquet and convention space for events and the wedding of your dreams. Book at Claridge.com for the best rates and find the best package for your stay. Discover all the Claridge has to offer.
All right, that's going to do it for us. My pick for the Eagles this week, I actually, think the game is going to be a good game, but I think the Eagles win the game, say, I'm going to go 31-24. 31-24 is my pick for the Eagles this week.
That means the Jags cover because it's 6.5. Doesn't that mean you have it at 6 or 7 difference?
That'll be a 7.
So the Eagles would cover in your scenario.
Close. 31-24. Actually, it might even be like 31-20. I'm going to go 31-20.
Are you going to regret it if you come in on Monday and it's 31-24?
Yeah, 31-20 Eagles. So that's my pick.
I'm going to remember that you said 31-24 in case it is that score.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't have to get it right on the nose. Just the ballpark, right? Eagles 31-20. Right there. That's my spot. Player of the game, Eagles. I'm going to go A.J. Brown offense. I think he has the big day. I think they have trouble defending over top. And on the defensive side of the ball, I'm going to go Kaiser White will be my guy this week. I think they're going to try to go after the slot a lot, and that means getting Kaiser White in coverage a little bit more, helping out tackling, the running back situation, screens to ATN, running with James Robinson. So Kaiser White will be my defensive player of the game. Eagles 31-20 over Jacksonville. Kaiser White, player of the game on defense. A.J. Brown on offense. We have the game for you live on 97.3 ESPN. And I got another chance for you to qualify for Eagles Club Box tickets right now. 609-573-3776. 609-573-3776. Caller number 7. You are entered for a chance to win Eagles Club Box seats. Caller 7, 609-573-3776. Caller number 7 right now. You are entered in for a chance to win Eagles Club Box seats for Monday Night Football against the Washington Commanders on November 14th. You must be present to win on Friday, October 28th at Garden State Beer Company. We'll give away that pair of tickets, Club Box seats, to see the Eagles and Commanders on Monday night. Caller 7, good luck. Have a great weekend, everybody. Game night is up next.